That is what we call kata. I am
Kata?
formally trained in the art of kata. And really what it is when there are no actual attackers, you just go... that's the sound of the weekend for those of you who are not Mug Club members. And why would you want to be after that introduction? Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared, me at SCrowder. I fulfill my legal obligations, draw your own conclusions. We good?
Well, I'll shut up now.
A Jew! We have a Jew in the studio. Our EP, Scott, and you'll see why that matters.
Be very nice to me.
He actually has Berg in the name.
Be very nice to me.
How hard is it to anytime you actually run into like an anti-Semite and you can sense it and they ask you your last name? Do you change it?
Here's the thing. I've lived in the suburbs of New York, Los Angeles, a very liberal town in Boulder, Colorado. I have not run into many anti-Semites. It just hasn't really happened at all.
Oh,
You know what's more interesting? The fact that we can't see Scott in this shot well at all.
Nothing like perpetuating the original stereotype.
because we're not tall.
And the reason this matters is when I was on CNN today, on their app anyway, front page, I should say it's opinion, but this is CNN, supposed to be a news network. They have this article. Clearly, the Trump administration has a problem with the Jews. CNN, you're not even trying anymore. It's like after the BuzzFeed Russian hooker debacle, they're just like, you know what? He hates the Jews.
Let's just see what sticks.
Let's just see what sticks. And this comes after his visit to the Anne Frank Museum.
Yeah.
And actually said some very nice things. I mean, you see this, what was it, the African-American Museum? His speeches were actually pretty nice, pretty uniting, and this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start on this article. The guy goes on to write, Scott highlighted this, he goes on to say, millions of Jewish kids go to school in fear every day. I think talking about Americans, I don't know if he's not really talking about Israel.
No.
He also says that basically the crux of it is Donald Trump hasn't been very nice to Jews all this time. This is the article. It is so baseless. Go to CNN.com, read it. Clearly Trump doesn't care about the Jews. As a matter of fact, when asked for comment, the original author had this to say.
Right! You are everything that's gone wrong in this world. You are self-consumed, no talent, mediocre piece of shit. And I've earned my right to say it. Okay? I had trust.
How does he get his own column?
Oh, no.
What's the screening process for this at CNN now?
It's low, though. It's low. It's a low.
Here's before we get into it, Scott, you got so passionate that you put in like 25 unnecessary sources.
This one got to me.
In the show map. Is there, I can understand, right, when people say, okay, Donald Trump, maybe there's an authoritarian bent, maybe he has a problem with the press. We go, okay, I can see a problem there. This one, to me, as a Gentile, with Donald Trump, certainly compared to Barack Obama, whether you agree with the Israel situation or not, or the UN, let's get that off the table. But to say Donald Trump is more anti-Israel, it seems so entirely baseless.
No, it is baseless. And this gentleman, this French socialist, I can only assume he's a socialist. That's not what he said. He just said he doesn't like Jews. That's what the article was about. He just doesn't like Jews. If you look at his policy towards Israel, he's obviously more pro-Israel than Barack Obama is.
Well, yeah, we have that actually here. Barack Obama, before he left the presidency, he tried to Western Union $222 million to Palestine. By the way, Palestine's still under control of Hamas, who does have the destruction of any and all Jews in their charter. Mm-hmm. And he tried to do this unilaterally. Donald Trump froze it when he came in. It was one of the first things that he did. Let's talk again. Let's take away how you feel about Israel and the American government or the UN. Let's just address the premise that Donald Trump hates Jews and really look at his actions compared to the previous administration. Do we have the John Kerry speech?
We do.
We do. So John Kerry gave the speech on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. So let's act as though Donald Trump were saying this.
It's going to be just that much harder to separate, that much harder to imagine transferring sovereignty. And that is exactly the outcome that some are purposefully accelerating. Let's be clear. Settlement expansion has nothing to do with Israel's security.
Incorrect. Scott, does settlement expansion have anything to do with Israel's security?
Of course it does.
Is that something to do with rockets?
It has to do with
something to do with tunnel bombs?
It has to do with paying terrorist bombers, paying their families after the attack has happened.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
By the way, depending on how well they pay, do any Jews get in on that action?
No, they don't. They do not. I would know.
That's something that's posted on Craigslist. Here's an interview with Obama. Again, we're just comparing for CNN to put this out as news. CNN, the most trusted name in news. Donald Trump is anti-Jew. He's an anti-Semite. Let's compare it with a direct interview from Barack Obama not long ago.
Can you understand the sense of betrayal?
No. I think, I'll be honest with you, that that kind of hyperbole, those kinds of statements, don't have basis in fact. They may work well with respect to deflecting attention from the problem of settlements. They may play well with Bibi's political base as well as the Republican base here in the United States, but they don't match up with the facts.
Because Barack Obama is the gatekeeper for the facts. Also, CNN and BuzzFeed, their colleagues at BuzzFeed. Don't you love how dismissive he is? May play well with the Republican base and Bibi's voting base.
But normal people.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
But not the people who aren't being blown up in record numbers. It's just, let's talk about actions. This guy in the article, and Scott was talking about this earlier today. Donald Trump. So right away, Israel actually they were really upset that Barack Obama did not veto the condemnation across the board of Israel from the UN. Mm-hmm. The UN might as well be called the We Hate the United States and Israel organization. Maybe that's why we tend to be buddies. They hate us both, and they partner up with countries that are literally run by terrorist organizations. I mean, imagine if both Canada and Mexico had it in their country's charter, destruction of any and all Americans. Let's try and put that into some context. I know we're going to get some people who hate Jews in the comment section and say that we're paid by...
And if France lectured us about wanting to protect our borders from said violence.
Or if France lectured us about anything. Trump, right away, after the UN vote, came in, warned them. This is what he did. He came in, he warned them, went into bat for Israel. Sorry for the alt-right people who don't like the Jews. Donald Trump is possibly the greatest friend to Israel of any modern president in history. Certainly if you look at his first actions. Not to mention his daughter married a Jew and converted. By the way, that's something that I can understand marrying a Jew, but converting, that's a lot of baggage.
That's some new dedication.
I mean, it's not like it's fun.
Automatically makes you more annoying.
Does it really?
It does. It automatically, once you convert, you are more annoying immediately.
Well, how so? Is it just for other Jewish people?
Because we're Jewish. We're Jewish.
I didn't expect him to go so full bore. He's going to ease into it. People are going to think that we put this in his contract, otherwise he would be fired.
Let's be honest. He controls the contract.
Let's be honest. It really is. And the banks. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
And I'm like,
and I'm coming.
He had seized my assets.
And I'm coming for this show next.
The show next. He's coming for the whole CRTV network and YouTube.
And YouTube.
He has a contact.
The YouTubans.
He knows the guy. By the way, for final comment on this, let's go back to the original author. He had this to say.
Who the are you? You nothing. You nothing. You are nothing. And you will never be anything. Never. How dare you? How dare you? You miserable, mediocre nothing.
I will say, not a great ambassador for the Jewish people.
No.
I don't know how he's so... He looks like Andre the Giant if he were a midget.
Yeah,
that's what's so bizarre.
Andre the Giant scrotum, perhaps.
Well, now we know why he's relegated to the online section of CNN, and we don't see him appear on panels.
No.
This article was up. By the way, I should have said we have Pogo. We didn't introduce our guests.
Oh my gosh.
Michael Ian Black
Retake.
today. I should have said Michael Ian Black, who doesn't like me very much, thinks that I'm wrong about everything rape culture. I apologize, Zero. I don't think there's rape culture in the United States. And of course, we have Pogo. Mm-hmm. Pogo, huge guests. Pogo. I can't.
People are stoked. They've been waiting for this forever.
People are stoked. As a matter of fact, that's why we're just going to do this one more topic and get to the guests because
Yes.
I think they're going to be great guest segments. This was up as an article today. The Sports Illustrated model. I know we've talked about this before. Hunter McGrady. Now, I read this, and I know, why are you talking about fat chicks? Here's why. This is why this is important. Because if you actually read this article, and it's this virtue signaling, hey, everyone is, this is my God-given body, I'm proud, it actually sends a horrible message to teenage girls. Mm-hmm. Just like feminism. Feminism sent a horrible message to young women with the sexual liberation, with the idea that you don't need a man, with the idea of rape culture, and they basically completely stripped women of their natural God-given power.
I know women who feel empty empty inside because they can't figure out what career they're supposed to have because feminism tells them they have to have a career. This person just wants to be a mom. They can't, and that's not okay today.
I know. I know the French. She feels empty because of the barren womb. That's also something that makes it tough.
It's true.
Right off the bat, it went to a weird, dark place.
Weird.
I don't know how much darker you can get with Michael Ian Black. I'm sure he'll probably say something anti-Semitic. So she sits here and she talks in this article. She's talking about her God-given body, and she talks about how when she was a teenager, and here are the pictures. When she was a teenager, she starved herself and she was unhealthy. And you see these pictures. It does look like maybe she's a little bit too thin. And then she talks about how now her God-given body is she claims a size 18, which usually means you're probably like a size 22. Let's be, and it doesn't change. The rule doesn't change with plus size models. Here's the thing with that. There is a middle ground. There is a middle ground here. She could eat healthy and exercise and probably would be slightly smaller. Now, I'm not saying that she's completely unattractive, but there is a middle ground. You don't have to be anorexic, skinny, and unhealthy, or overweight and unhealthy. And by the way, by a doctor's measurement, this would be an unhealthy weight for her at her size. A size 18, a size 20, a size 22. And she even talks about, in this article, she talks about when I was a teenager, I constantly tried to shave more off my hips. But here's the thing. That's your problem.
Yeah.
No men want you to shave more off your hips. Even men who like thin women are like, I like thin women. I don't want any hips. Nothing. I don't even like boobs and butts. Let's just put that out there to confuse them. No men want you to not have hips. And here's the issue that I have with this. Not only is it doing a great disservice to young women, but it is incredibly vilifying of young men. Mm-hmm. Because what you're doing is you're creating a straw man, this ideal standard of beauty that no men have ever held out there. Men don't have an ideal one perfect standard of beauty. That's what's wonderful. We need to be telling young girls, listen, if you're within the parameters of health, men will like you, whether you're tall, whether you're short, you're thinner, you're slightly chubbier, as long as you are relatively healthy and put yourself together well. Throughout history, men have found a majority of women sexually attractive. I mean, you can look at them. You have Marilyn Monroe was a model slightly bigger. Then you have Audrey Hepburn, obviously, who goes the other direction. When I was a kid, Julie Newmar was someone I had a big crush on watching Batman. She's a more average mid-sized girl. If you look at the cover of men's magazines, you see people of all different sizes. As a matter of fact, if you want to look for someone to blame, look for when women allowed themselves to be co-opted by homosexual fashion designers who create women's magazines. The only place you see this crazy, unrealistic standard of beauty is on Marie Claire and Elle and wherever these gay men want to make women look like little boys. No straight men expect that. Even today, let's look at this today objectively. The most beautiful women in the world, whenever you look at People's List, you have men who love Taylor Swift, love her, they find her gorgeous, she's on the thin, tall side, and some men love Beyonce. That's not my thing, maybe it's yours. I noticed your selection of photographs there. We will get letters regarding the Queen Bee. By the way, if you send me a letter and say Queen Bee, I'm not going to. I immediately know that you're an angry gay.
You just purge your email, start a new one. Just get it out.
So this tells little girls you either have to have an eating disorder or you have to be overweight. Yeah. And you should be proud of being overweight. And they take something that can be so unifying, this idea of beautiful women in all different shapes and sizes, which, by the way, is pretty universal for men. And they try to guilt men based on an expectation men don't have, and then tell women that they'll be happier with a life that will make them definitively less healthy and unhappy. And something else, a big irony here that I think a lot of people miss. The whole fat pride movement is based on inner beauty, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the inner beauty. Well, if you read this article, if this woman weren't pretty and a plus-size model, you wouldn't be talking about inner beauty. Let's look at what she wrote. Her biggest dream was to be the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model cover. That's just as shallow and vain as any model out there. You just happen to be overweight. Look, if we want to talk about her interview, she wasn't dreaming of building orphanages. Mm-hmm. She wasn't dreaming of going out there and curing diseases. She wasn't dreaming of raising a great... Her dream was to be ogled in a swimsuit. So look, that's fine if that's your dream. I get it. Lots of thin people have those dreams too. But if you're going to condemn thin people as shallow and vain and say, look at me, it's about inner beauty. Oh, really? Well, what are you about? Posing naked? So you're just the same thing. You're doing the exact same thing. We're supposed to act as though these plus-size models somehow are pushing the boundaries, as though they're not vain. They're just as vain. They just didn't do the push-ups. And the problem here is, you're turning men, their attraction, to women of all different shapes and sizes. You're creating outrage at something that couldn't be less outrageous.
Hey, Steven, real quick, come over here. Do you think she's hot?
Yeah.
I was thinking, what do you think about her?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Her?
I guess, but probably prefer the other ones.
And we don't
All right. The double secret patriarchy meeting is now in session. First item of business. It is very important that we make sure women don't catch on to the fact that marriage is nothing more than glorified rape. So please keep that under your hats, shall you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course, yeah. All right. On to item number 2. We need unified standards on what will be determined as the most recent oppressive standards of beauty that we don't even like. Anybody have suggestions?
Yeah, me.
Yes, Bradley.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe we could, tell women or the people who do the magazines that we like bigger breasts and nice bodies.
Even though we don't like any of those things. Brilliant, Bradley. That will really screw with their heads. Anyone else?
Yeah, over here.
Yes, Phil Cool.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we tell people that we like women more, who are more nurturing and good as around the house.
Even though clearly men are not attracted to any of those qualities in the opposite sex. Good thinking, Phil. We'll be sure to maintain our death grip on oppression. Okay, one more. Yes, you in the back there, Perry.
How about we put out the notion that we like our women to look like women?
Oh, that's glorious. Even though men clearly like women who look like androgynous little boys, we'll tell them that we prefer them looking feminine. Oh, that'll be sure to get their goat and grind their gears. Well, I think we have a lot to work with this week. Refreshments are in the back, but keep it to a 2 per person maximum. Double secret patriarchy meeting is adjourned. See you next Tuesday.
I don't have a bomb shelter. I don't have some kind of a road warrior truck for when the crap hits the fan, and I'm not a prepper. But I have lived through some natural disasters in my lifetime. The ice storm in Montreal, where we actually knew people who died, couldn't get food or water. My brother with earthquakes in Los Angeles. It pays to be prepared. You don't have to be some crazy person living out in the plains to do so. And that's why right now with this promotional offer from Louder with Crowder, you can call 888-457-3453 to get a 30-day emergency food kit for $99 shipped. You've got drinks, you've got food, everything you need in here. Really for Shut up. Shut up! Don't screw up my take. I told you not to screw up my take. I'm going to keep doing it again. That's 888-457-3453 or online at preparewithcr.com. 140 servings, 30 days. Set it and forget it. Leave it in your basement, wherever. You don't have to think about it. $99, shipped free. 888-457-3453 or preparewithcr.com. Very nice. Pogo, who's coming up after our next guest. Hopefully it's all a good time. We never know.
Good times.
Next guest, I've actually followed him for a while, followed his comedy over there at Stella is a comedy troupe that he's taken part in. My brother's a huge fan. He had some choice words for me. Some choice words went back and forth, but now he is on the program at Michael Ian Black. Mr. Black, thank you for being here, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. So let me set the table here for people who don't exactly know what the engagement kind of has been. And then hopefully, I will say it's been civil offline since then in direct messaging. It's been very cordial. I was in the middle of a show a couple weeks ago, and an old video of mine resurfaced regarding rape culture. So I know you tweeted to me this, just holy shit. And then there were a few tweets after that when I was encouraging you to come on the show. So let's just lead with that, Michael. Holy shit, what? I'm always open to new ideas.
Sure. Holy shit, that video is appalling.
Okay, how so?
In a number of ways. The first is that it's trivializing, demeaning, and making a cartoon of somebody's experience with what they describe as a sexual assault. So by doing that, you're, I think, guilty of the thing that a lot of these women say, which is you're making them feel like they're not going to be believed and that they're going to have a hard time coming forward if they're going to be on the receiving end of this kind of action.
Okay. Can I respond to that?
Of course.
Okay. A couple of things. Did you watch the whole video?
Yes.
Okay, because one of the very first things I talk about is the grave concern with people like Lena Dunham falsely attributing rape, or falsely accusing rape, rather, is the people who come forward who have actually been raped. And the people who falsely cite statistics like the 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, which is verifiably untrue, that makes it actually...
What you're saying is untrue.
No, what I'm saying is completely true.
What you're saying is untrue. The CDC study that you
I have the statistics. No. The Bureau for Justice.
And what you're saying...
No, the Bureau for Justice. I have it right in front of me.
CDC right now. Nearly 1 in 5, 18.3% of women, and 1 in 71 men, 1.4%, reported experiencing rape at some time in their lives.
Okay, that's there you go. So let me clarify that. See, that's the CDC report experiencing rape. Right now, when we frame in what rape is, which is sexual assault, unwanted, unwarranted, without consent, the Bureau for Justice says that it's 6.1 per 1,000. So that would be 0.003.
What is the Bureau of Justice?
The United States Bureau of Justice. It's a federal Department of Justice. We're talking about the United States statistics here regarding rape. And again, let me hold on a second. Let me respond. Let me respond really quickly.
The CDC is incorrect. You're saying the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, is wrong.
Yes.
And you're correct.
No.
And how are you basing that?
No, I'm not. And let me tell you why I'm saying my statistic is correct. Because I'm fully aware of the statistics that you cite, that Lena Dunham, that them and their ilk cite, and I'm aware with the flaws in that statistic. Now, that includes any P and V that is regretful. Are you aware this is taught on campus? Do you know what that means?
No, it says rape. That's what it says.
Again, rape is defined as any P and V, any penis in vagina, which is regretful. As a matter of fact, let's look at the California rape statute, which would be included. The California rape statute requires consent continually throughout the entire act of sexual intercourse, meaning that someone could immediately become guilty of rape within one thrust without even knowing it. That's the California rape statute.
That's not correct.
It is correct. I have it right in front of me.
Well, what consent implies and says explicitly is, and you said this in your video, that if somebody says no at any point, that person has to stop. That's what you said.
No, but that's not what
California means.
No, that's not what California means.
Therefore, what you're saying
is hold on a second. You just made a bunch of leaps. Okay, I'd rather instead of making leaps and assumptions, consent
has to occur, and that when somebody says no at any time during the act, I'm quoting you now, you said that is rape, and that's what California says.
Okay, you made a bunch of assumptions. Are you aware of the California statute that is called affirmative consent?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, it's what I just told you about. So let's assume for a second, hold on a second. I didn't say that you were wrong. I didn't say that what you said was untrue.
Right, I'm saying you're wrong.
Yeah, I didn't say what you said. Sorry, you are wrong. What you said was not necessarily untrue. I'm not saying that you were being dishonest. You are incorrect. So let me present that. Let's before we go back and forth again on that and different definitions again, there's the CDC definition, there's the Bureau of Justice definition, which frames in rape as actual sexual assault, unwanted sexual intercourse, not drunken intercourse, not intercourse where a girl afterwards says that she regretted it. It's actual rape. We need to make that clear because Lena Dunham was talking about sex that she regretted. And in that video, I talked about lumping. This is the whole point, Michael. This is important. The whole point of that video. And by the way, the first thing I say is rape is never acceptable. Okay?
You absolutely said that.
Several times. And it demeans and it belittles the horrendous act of rape by simply throwing it out as an accusation and lumping in all regretful sex as rape. So for you to say...
She didn't throw it out as an accusation. In fact, she went to great pains to say that she had very mixed emotions about it. She had to process it. It was psychologically difficult for her.
Sure.
She went to great pains to say that this experience required her to undergo a lot of thought, examination, self-examination, and self-recrimination. She didn't willy-nilly say that this was rape. And for you to characterize
I would consider a false accusation willy-nilly.
What?
I would consider a false accusation verifiably false willy-nilly.
It is not verifiably false. There's nothing that she said
I've spoken
that was
with
verifiably false.
I've spoken with him.
You have no idea when she went
I've spoken with him. She never pressed charges, and she dropped the issue completely and said that she misspoke.
Charges.
She said that she misspoke, and she said that she blew it up. She wished that she never said it. The man claims it never happened.
Can you quote that to me?
Hey, I can't quote that to you right now, but I can...
Speaking out was never about exposing the man who assaulted me. Rather, it was about exposing my shame, meaning hers, letting it dry out in the sun. I did not wish to be contacted by him or to open a criminal investigation.
Yeah,
That's her words.
Yeah,
so
but why not?
Were you saying that she regretted it and she wished she had never said it?
Yeah, she talked about it later on, saying that it was blown out of proportion.
Tell me where. Show me.
I don't have Lena Dunham's exact quote right in front of me.
You have to have it if you're going to make accusations.
Well, what you just said right there. Why would she not? Let's talk about. Hold on, Michael. Hold on. You're going off the deep end, brother. You're going off the deep end, brother. Hold on a second. I want to let you finish. Let me finish. Okay, when I speak, and I'll let you finish. So we can go back and forth right there. CDC, Bureau of Justice. Can we agree that we need to define rape before we start talking about a rape culture?
We didn't talk about a rape culture.
That video was entirely about rape culture. It was called
so now you
rape culture.
Yes, we can.
The video was about rape culture, and you tweeted me, "Holy shit!" Right? The video was about rape culture. You have a problem with my video, which was addressing rape culture.
Yes,
do you
absolutely.
not? Okay. So let's clarify. I'm not pulling a bait and switch. I'm allowing you the floor when you decided to pull out a random video and launch some kind of a Twitter tirade. It was about rape culture.
I didn't launch a Twitter tirade. I said, "Holy shit," and I'm explaining why.
And then repeatedly, when asked to come on the show, said no. I needed to talk with a woman who was a victim of sexual assault.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is that a tirade, Stephen?
Because it was repeatedly multiple tweets. You have several million followers. Yeah, several million followers. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You tried to hide behind people who didn't exist, who you didn't put forward beforehand.
Stephen, what are you talking about?
Okay, so rape culture is what we're talking about.
Don't exist.
Yeah, you didn't present a victim of sexual assault to debate.
You're a fact person. How are you determining that?
Who did you suggest for me to debate, if not yourself? You said any woman.
Sexual abuse.
Yeah, and I put. You said, well, first off, you said any woman, right?
No, I did not say any woman. I said a victim of sexual abuse. You can quote me.
You said any woman on the subject as well. I believe. Hold on, I believe I have some of the tweets. So you did say of sexual abuse, and you said that any woman would be more qualified in the subject.
Yes, any woman would be more qualified than me to talk about this.
In fact, probably every single adult woman I know could share with you.
Yes.
So is that not factual? What I just said? Then that is your quote? No.
What you just said, yes, is my quote.
Yes. So you said any victim of sexual assault or any adult woman.
Yes.
Did you provide anyone? Because I provided two adult women.
But, right, and I said I wasn't comfortable speaking on behalf of sexual abuse survivors because I'm not one.
Okay, but right now you just said you were willing to come on and argue. You weren't. You tried to shirk it several times is my point. I'm glad we're having this conversation, but don't act as though anyone else drew first blood here other than yourself.
You're accusing me of
Let's get back to rape culture. Let's get back to rape culture.
Come on?
No, I think you should come on. But you acted as though you wanted to come on right away. The point is, Michael, you tried to take a parting shot, and now we're here. This is good.
What was my parting shot, Stephen?
Your parting shot was throwing out a tweet to someone with a smaller profile than yourself, then refusing to come on until you were cornered and felt pressured.
I didn't refuse. I came on.
You repeatedly did. You repeatedly did, and I appreciate you agreeing to. So rape culture is what we're talking about. So you also said that you think that my video was incentive, which of course dealt in statistics, as we're talking about right now. What about your rape jokes then?
Let's talk about. You said you wanted to define
rape. What about your rape? Yeah, but hold on a second. You said it was very insensitive. You've made rape jokes throughout your entire career.
90,185 rapes in 2015. That's 2015.
Michael,
do you think
you started it off personally,
rapes?
And I went to
do you think that's too many rapes?
You started off personally. I think one rape is too many rapes. You started off personally. saying that you personally make people very uncomfortable, ashamed of these incidents with your video on rape. You talked about making light of it, making jokes about it.
Demeaning the victim,
okay,
yes.
Yeah, by making light of it. What about your...
Wait a minute, you said you wanted to define rape, and now you're moving away from the subject.
We did define rape.
Let's have a definition of rape. Let's talk about the numbers of rapes, and let's talk about rape culture, which you say doesn't exist. I'm saying there were 90,185 rapes in 2015, this according to the FBI. Do you think that's too many rapes?
This is the exact same thing as Christopher Titus. Why don't you care about dead kids?
Yes or no?
Of course I do.
Okay.
How is that relevant to the fact that there is no rape culture in the United States and that you're pulling out bogus statistics?
Not rape culture.
How many broken arms are there in the United States because someone doesn't know how to open an oven? Is that too many? Of course it's too many.
I didn't.
The point is, it's a stupid non sequitur, Michael. It's a stupid non sequitur. Any rape is too many rapes. We agree. Nobody here is a supporter of rape. Stop trying to frame it in as though I somehow support some kinds of rape.
I don't.
Michael, what about your rape jokes?
Which is what you asked to do.
What about your rape jokes?
I don't want to. We can talk about my rape jokes.
So is that not the same thing? Because you didn't do so in a way that was addressing it factually, as I did. You simply have made rape jokes that are insensitive and making light. Does that mean you support rape?
Of course not. Tell me what rape jokes I made.
A couple then. Done skiing for the day, drunk and exhausted. I feel like I was date raped. What I'm learning about date rape jokes is that some people really like them and some people do not. Rape is generally not a funny topic, but when you add the word date to it, it somehow becomes magically pretty amusing.
Uh-huh. That's a terrible tweet on my part. That last one.
Here's the thing, Michael. I don't think it's offensive, and I don't think it hurts rape victims. But my point is, before we go into personal attacks,
I didn't personally attack you.
You make a personal argument as though I somehow don't care about victims of rape.
No,
I just have a different opinion than you.
I said, holy shit, because your video is appalling. I never attacked you personally.
Yeah, but you've not proven why it's appalling. You said it makes light and it's demeaning.
If you had an example of me attacking you personally, please show me.
Sure. Right at the outset of this, thank God people have rewind on the internet. Though I don't know if it's called rewind. It's called skip 30, I think, where you said it demeans and makes light of the situation of people who are rape victims.
That is not a personal attack on you.
No, I'm saying you tried to set the argument personally.
It's an attack on the work.
You tried to set the argument personally.
There's nothing funny about what you did.
As you're doing now, are there too many rapes? Yes, of course there are. That's trying to frame the argument as though one of us is sympathetic to rape victims and one of us isn't. The fact is, you've made far more.
That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying you deny that there's rape culture. So
yes.
If there is no rape culture, if rape isn't a problem in this country,
two different things. There's a difference between rape culture and rape being a problem
in this country. Then surely there is a number at which you agree that rape is acceptable and a number at which you agree it is not. So if the number is 0, which we both agree it is, the number is 0 of acceptable rapes. That's what you said, and I'm agreeing. Then clearly there's a problem in the culture if the FBI is saying there were 90,185 reported rapes in 2015.
Yeah, incorrect.
So the FBI is incorrect and the CDC is incorrect.
No, that's not what I said. Incorrect.
You just said incorrect.
Your statement right now, which was 2 or 3 paragraphs, was incorrect. Now, before you got to the FBI, very clever, tying in at the end of an entire opining on your behalf to act as though that somehow substantiates what you said. You said there are these many rapes, and if we agree that rape is a problem, of course rape is a problem, then we agree there's a rape culture. Don't agree there's a rape culture. Just like I don't agree there's a murder culture. I don't agree that there's a racism culture in the United States. I don't agree there's a cultural problem with it. I believe there's rape. And certainly if we want to get into a rape culture problem, we can get into societies where that is the case, as nearly every Islamic nation in the world where rape is actually, in fact, allowed legally. It's not allowed here. Rape is illegal in this country, and rape is very, very rare in the United States. And my point is this.
Okay, so the FBI, when they say 90,185, that's very, very rare.
Yes.
Okay. And when you say it's very, very rare and that the CDC says 1 in 5 will experience rape in their lifetime, that is also rare?
1 in 5 is false.
Okay, so the CDC is wrong.
Yes.
And the FBI saying 90,000 is rare.
Well, first off, you have two numbers that contradict each other.
Is that also rare?
You have 2 numbers that contradict each other. You're aware of this, right?
No, they don't. 90,185.
90,000 would be 1 in 5 women? 90,000 would be 1 in 5 women?
To a lifetime definition.
Michael.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
90,000 would be 1 in 5 women, Michael?
No, of course not.
So you have 2 sources that contradict each other.
In 2015, the CDC says 1 in 5 over the course of their life.
90,000 would not even be close to 1 in 5.
Of course, you and I agree. 90,000 reported to law enforcement in 2015. I've said it 5 times. The CDC statistic refers to a lifetime. Over the course of their lifetime, 1 in 5.
Yeah. First off, the CDC is false. And again, if we get into those statistics, considering that over 80% of rapes are not committed by serial rapists, but by people who they know.
Nobody said they were.
No, but I'm saying it wouldn't bear out in those statistics as far as a lifetime statistics if you were to extrapolate the number of 90,000 regarding even their current standards of rape, which is sex with anyone they regret, Michael. And again, those statistics are constantly rebutted from the CDC. The Bureau of Justice specifically said we need to look at these and frame them in. Yes, it does.
Can you show me the CDC definition where it says they regret having sex as a definition of rape?
Read to me the CDC definition that you read earlier, so that way I'm not misquoting it. You read it earlier, Michael. Read to me the CDC definition you just read earlier, because I don't want you to say that I'm misquoting it. So please.
I'm having sexual violence. This is quoting from the CDC, a facts at a glance from 2012, cdc.gov, violence prevention, PDF, SV datasheet, APDF, in a nationally represented survey of adults. And we can look at the survey.
Sure.
Nearly 1 in 5, 18.3% of women, and 1 in 71 men reported experiencing rape at some time in their lives.
Reported experiencing rape. How is rape defined is the point. Reported experiencing rape. Self-reporting experiencing rape. If we go by crime statistics... Well, hold on a second. Here's my point.
Sexual Violence Survey in 2010.
Yeah.
The National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 2011. That's the reference. That's where it's coming from.
Yes. Define experiencing rape.
I can't, Stephen. It's the CDC. So we'd have to go back to the original survey, the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, which I don't have at my fingertips.
Okay, and that's fair. Listen, I'm not trying to trick you or make you get some sources that you don't have. Okay, you work with your statistics, the CDC. If you take that and put it next to the criminal statistics, even if you add it up over the lifetime, it's not even close. It couldn't possibly add up to 1 in 5. Now,
except that this is 90,000.
Hold on a second. Do you understand? Look, can I finish?
Reported to law enforcement in 2015. We both know, Stephen, that very few or a minority of rapes are reported.
Okay, so here's this requires a lot of assumptions on your part, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It requires a lot of assumptions, and I'm going to explain why and act as though you'll allow me to finish a sentence. It requires a lot of assumptions because you're taking a criminal statistic, which in no way could at any point, if you were to take an average lifetime, add up to 1 in 5 people are raped. And then you are comparing that with experiencing rape, which is not clearly defined. Now, me, along with most Americans who are not rape sympathizers whatsoever, would read the story from Lena Dunham that she wrote in her own book and certainly not want to throw that in the lot with actual rape. That's my point.
And she didn't.
She did.
She made it very clear that she had a lot of ambiguity and problems with the term at first, came to accept it eventually, and also, as I quoted to you before, took a lot of the blame herself. And in writing about it, I think what she was saying was she was trying to encourage other people to experience it in their own way and come to grips with it and come forward in their own way and be okay with it. Sure. To understand what happened and to understand that there's a problem in the culture. That's where we get to the loose term rape culture, which I agree with you, incidentally, is a problematic term.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word problematic. I would say inaccurate.
Well, clearly you would say that.
It's an inaccurate term. There is no rape culture in the United States. We put rapists away when they're proven guilty. We have a problem with rape. The overwhelming majority of Americans are against rape. The overwhelming majority of men do not commit rape. 1 in 5 women are not raped. That is incorrect.
That's just factually incorrect. And you haven't in any way
0.03, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 0.03 in 5. It's 6.1 per 1,000 students. I have the number right here.
Students now. You're not saying over the course of a lifetime?
We're talking about rape culture. Again, this is where we're going back to. That was the video.
The Bureau of Justice that you're saying is not quoting people over the course of a lifetime, which is what the CDC says.
Yeah, the video that we were talking about was rape
Stephen,
culture.
You just quoted the Bureau of Justice to disprove the CDC. Does it say over the course of a lifetime, or does it say during the 4 years of college?
Here's the important point. It's clearly defined.
You're saying that the CDC is wrong.
Yes, both, Michael, both. Right now, I am looking at a college. Michael, both, Michael.
Your statistic disproves the CDC.
Michael, both. Now, the reason that right now we are talking about college is because rape culture, as the term, which is the reason for the video, you chose to address the video, Michael. You don't get to say, hey, this video is wrong, where Stephen is talking about racism. Holy shit! And I say, well, let's talk about racism. You say, let's talk about abortion. We were talking about rape culture in the video.
We've been talking about
rape culture in the video
other than rape
as it relates to on campus. By the way, Lena Dunham.
As it relates to on campus.
That is what the video is about, Michael.
Over the course of a lifetime, Bureau of Justice that you just quoted does not refer to in a lifetime. So if 1 in 5 women are raped in the course of a lifetime, according to CDC, which you are unable to disprove, Stephen, then clearly
I am, and I have disproven it many times writing about it, as has Courtney and Casey, head writers at louderwithcrowder.com. Let me get to my point. Let me finish, Michael. I know in your entertainment industry you get to interrupt and run roughshod over people, and people think that somehow you're a skilled debater, but my God, man, you've got to stay on point here, okay? I'm trying to be civil. I'm trying to be respectful.
I've been on point the
Stop
entire
interrupting.
Time. You're conflating different studies and saying
there is. You haven't.
Don't tell me where
Michael,
the Bureau of Justice study says that 1 in 5 women are raped.
So people, you see, this is the problem with the arguing with the leftists. As you can see here in this conversation, one person continually interrupts, does not allow someone else to speak, is clearly emotionally perturbed. No, I haven't been interrupting you. I have gotten maybe 2 phrases in before you go into a paragraph, Michael. The video was about rape culture. You decided to take a video from years ago, address there was a problem with it, Okay.
What difference does it make when it was from unless you disown it?
No, I don't disown it at all.
Okay, so what difference does it make when it was
Well, here's
from?
why. Here's why. Because the video is talking about rape culture.
Right.
And Elena Dunham, and as it relates to rape culture on campus. Okay? That's what the video was about.
Rape culture in general.
No, it's talking about rape culture and on campus. And Elena Dunham also said she was raped. You can lie about that, and I'll call you out right now with a lie about that. Elena Dunham said she was raped.
Yes.
Elena Dunham said she was raped when she was selling books. Afterward, when it was proven false, she said, well, maybe not. I found a condom in a potted plant. That's kind of rape. Let's be real here.
That's not at all
the
what
one.
she said.
The one outright dishonesty here is you saying Lena Dunham didn't say that. She claimed she was raped. Yes. This video was talking about that incident while it was topical and addressing rape culture at large and the feigned outrage from the left who don't seem to care so much about real rape cultures as they exist across the globe where it doesn't exist in the United States. In Islamic countries, as we addressed in the video, rape is ordained. It's allowed. As a matter of fact, rape still occurs in the United States between Muslim couples because of Sharia courts. An imam rules over those. That's why a lot of marriages aren't recognized by the United States government, because all that's required is a man to go to the imam and say, divorce, divorce, divorce in the United States, and it's no longer recognized marriage. If we want to talk about rape culture, if we want to talk about a rape culture, let's talk about a rape culture.
We're not talking about Islamophobia. We're talking about rape, buddy. Stay on topic.
We're not talking about Islamophobia. So there's no rape culture in Islam. There's rape culture. We're supposed to be at Mattress Girl,
if you're
UVA.
Saying there's rape culture in Islam and Islam in general, we would expect to see rape in Islamic cultures as being very high, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not. I can't go reported because women unless they have 4 witnesses cannot come forward, Michael.
Rape, in which it lists the top countries or the countries according to incidents of rape.
Yeah,
you have to go down.
But Michael, do you believe that these rapes are reported in Islam? They need 4 witnesses.
Huh?
Do you believe these women are coming forward with 4 witnesses? Do you believe these women are coming forward with 4 witnesses, Michael?
You have to go down to what is Kazakhstan predominantly Muslim? Sri Lanka,
Michael,
Brunei.
do you understand what's required in Islam to report a rape?
But none of these.
You're making my point. It's a rape culture because it's a crime that you cannot prove in Islamic culture as a woman. It's impossible to prove unless you get gang raped and everyone has an about face. They have an epiphany and say, you know what? I was wrong in raping and running a train on that woman. You need 4 witnesses, Michael. You cannot prove it. That's a real rape culture where a woman cannot possibly prove rape.
Stephen, how did we get from Lena Dunham to Islam?
Can I answer?
And if you want to talk about
culture.
Islam, you would expect that culture. In a Muslim city in America that rape would be a real problem, yeah?
No. Let me address that. You said, how do we get here? Rape culture, which is exactly how this conversation started. You were offended by a video regarding rape culture. So I've answered that question. Now with Islam, the requirements.
I don't want to talk about Islam because
you just asked me a question about Islam. I would expect it to be higher.
To know enough about Islam.
But you just asked me a question, so let me answer it. And then we can move forward from that. You asked me a question. No, I wouldn't expect them to be higher because it's a system of laws that will not recognize rape. It is a rape culture because a woman can't come forward if she's raped. That's my point.
I'm saying, and forgive me because I don't know.
Yeah.
In this country where there's a large Muslim population, would you expect to see rape incidents being higher?
No, absolutely. Absolutely not, because they can go unreported, and the woman can be punished if she comes forward with rape. Doesn't have the amount of witnesses.
States?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Are you aware
Where's
of
evidence of that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me explain to you. Are you aware of how Muslim congregations work?
No.
Okay. So not every imam can be a Sharia court judge, but every single Muslim congregation has to have a head imam who can operate Sharia law. In other words, who can fundamentally recognize marriages, divorce. They have their own system of laws, much like Jewish laws, except very different, obviously, because they encourage rape culture. Now, with women who are raped in Islam, they require multiple witnesses to come forward and say they have personally witnessed the rape.
Cannot come forward.
No, they can't
because of their religion. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
about. I'm asking about American Muslim women.
They cannot.
You're saying American Muslim women cannot come forward to complain of rape.
Very insightful. Exactly. We're talking about a real rape culture. They are intimidated into silence and they don't come forward.
Where's your evidence of this, that American Muslim women are not coming forward for rape if they're raped?
Well, first off, it would be
in any greater numbers than the rest of America.
It would be the
because today there's a story. 81 people have accused former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. Now, I don't think any of them were Muslim.
I'm sure they weren't.
So you're saying in the culture of Islam, they can't come forward, but in the larger culture, it's not a problem. I'm saying there were 81 people who are victims of this dude, the USA gymnastics coach, but that's not a problem in this culture?
I'm not aware of anyone here saying it's not a problem if any women are raped.
No. Rape culture. We're saying the culture of rape, the culture that excuses and lets sexual abuse go.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, exactly. We agree. It is not a rape culture. This is not a culture that allows sexual abuse to go. There are laws against it.
Right. 81
and
people have accused
forward,
former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. Now, clearly, if sexual abuse was not tolerated in this nation, after one person was abused by this man, it would have stopped. But it didn't. 81 people had accused.
That's not. This is a total and complete non sequitur, Michael.
How is it?
They are completely unrelated. You're talking about a story today.
Wait. You said, how is this relevant? And I'm trying to answer you, but you're talking over me. You got to stay on track, buddy. 81 people have accused former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. I just asked you if it's a problem in American Muslim culture that they can't come forward. You said yes. And then conversely, you're saying American women don't have this problem. I'm saying today's paper, 81 people, American people, have accused former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. It seems like that's an apples to apples comparison.
You're Don Quixote fighting windmills, man. I didn't say any of those things.
Okay, so clarify for me.
Okay. I was talking about a real rape culture. One that exists.
You keep saying real rape culture. And it doesn't make any more sense when you say it the fifth time or the first time.
Okay.
When we're talking about American culture,
I'm sorry you feel that way.
When we're talking about American culture, including Islam, and I'm saying there's a problem in the culture and you're denying it, and then as evidence, I'm saying 81 people have accused former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. It seems to me you're denying the experience of those 81 people because you're saying there is no culture. It's not a problem.
Multitude of falsehoods there. I don't know if you're doing it deliberately at this point. I don't know if it's a flail or if you believe that I said rape not a problem.
No, I am saying rape culture. Yeah. The culture that
exactly. So it's good. Let's talk about that.
I never said, Stephen, that you approve of rape.
You just said that these women coming forward, that this happened, that you're saying it's not a problem. That's what you just said.
No, I'm saying that
you use that specific story
because there's no rape culture. If there were no rape culture,
let me answer now. Okay, let me answer now, and then we can go back to you. I've given you several paragraphs, and you've given me one phrase. Okay, I was talking about real rape cultures that exist in law. My source: Quran, Hadith. Virtually every Islamic country in existence, and every Islamic population going back to the Ottoman Empire as far as rape laws and how they exist. This is real rape culture where women are treated as second-class citizens and are unable to verifiably prove the crime of rape. And if they come forward accusing rape and cannot prove it in a system of law that makes it impossible, the woman is punished. My point is that to me would be a real rape culture versus the United States where we have laws in place and virtually all Americans, barring a very small percentage who commit rape, find rape here completely abhorrent. Myself included, even though you're appalled by this video. That's my point.
Yeah, you and I agree. You and I will always agree that rape is abhorrent, that one rape is too many. Where we're disagreeing, it seems like, is in the broader problem in the culture, in American culture. Now, we both agreed that rape is a problem. So the question is there a larger problem in the culture that allows sexual abuse, intimidation, harassment, assault to occur? I'm saying there is. You're saying there isn't. As evidence, I'm using the CDC, which you have not disproven, and I'm citing, just looking at today's headline, 81 people have accused former USA gymnastics coach of sexual abuse. Now, that person would not have been allowed to get away with that for so long over so many people if there wasn't a larger problem in the culture.
Yeah. Okay, first off, that last story is what we call anecdotal. As far as the CDC, it has been disproven many times. And again, I re-referred...
It hasn't, and you haven't done it.
Okay, again, your own sources, the FBI, we're talking about rape reported. I think it's important to go by a definition of actual rape reported, of actual crimes of rape, versus something that you admitted you cannot define from the CDC. People reporting experiencing rape, especially in light of state statutes, as I pointed out in California. And they're even worse on campus. The reason campus matters is because the laws are even more lenient. The rules are even more lenient where anyone can accuse a man of rape and he can be expelled, as we saw with the UVA scandal, as we saw with Mattress Girl at Columbia. Virtually every high-profile rape case that has been in the media in the last half a decade has been proven false and has destroyed the lives of men who did not commit rape. So my point is there are real victims here.
And the Jerry Sandusky allegations were false. The Bill Cosby allegations are false. This U.S. gymnastics coach. These are false?
I don't know about the U.S. gymnastics coach. I'll give you that. If this is in a headline today, I don't know about that. And that could be a problem. But again, Mattress Girl, UVA, Rolling Stone, these were high-profile cases. And we're talking about actual campus rape.
You have absolutely quoted, too. What about Sandusky's victims? What about Cosby's victims? Also high-profile. What about Rogers Ailes' victims? Also high-profile.
Roger Ailes didn't rape anybody, but he's a scumbag. But he didn't rape anybody.
What?
Roger Ailes didn't rape anybody. He's a dirtbag, but he didn't rape anybody.
Right, but he did have to settle out of court. But
can we agree motorboating Megyn Kelly in the green room is not rape? Can we agree that?
Here's the revised FBI definition of rape. Penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object, or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without the consent of the victim. So that is what I'm using for the FBI.
For the FBI. Perfect. So again, that's the statistic I want to work with. According to your statistic, there is 90-something thousand, right, per year in 2015. Doing the math for that, because you wanted to say over a lifetime. We agree, over a lifetime, that would require 1,600 years, 15 to 1,600 years or so for it to be 1 in 5 women raped in a lifetime. So the FBI statistics would reflect actually much more severely what I'm talking about from the Bureau of Justice. I want to go by that definition. I agree on that definition of rape. I do not agree on the CDC definition where anyone claims that they experience rape. I think the FBI is more accurate because we just defined it. Can we agree?
But you haven't given me a different definition from the CDC.
No, I just used your own FBI statistic, which is more valid because it's defined.
Stephen, you're saying you agree with that definition, but you don't agree with the CDC definition, but you haven't provided me with the CDC
definition. There is no definition. The burden's on you to provide the definition if you're saying there's a rape culture. There is no definition from the CDC. It's regretful sex.
Wait for me to look up this entire survey, the National Intimate Partner.
Michael.
Do you want me to do that or not?
Michael, here's my point. The FBI statistics and the Bureau of Justice statistics, these are official statistics of where you can verify rape.
CDC is also official. It's a government entity.
It's not official if it's a poll.
It is official.
No,
Stephen,
if it's a poll.
How can you say the CDC isn't official?
Okay, what's more accurate, a poll or the votes in an election?
What?
The point is, you're quoting a poll. I am quoting actual incidents of rape.
I'm quoting a survey.
A survey is a poll.
No, it's not a poll, Stephen. A poll is when people voluntarily offer information.
You want me to grab a thesaurus?
Well, I guess you're right. That is a survey.
Yes,
I agree with you.
A survey is a poll. So my point is, if we are going to go out and throw out the allegation, which, by the way, can destroy lives of young men, rapists should be buried beneath the train tracks. If we're going to throw out that allegation, we need a whole lot more than a poll. And every single verifiable statistic, including the ones that you've thrown out today from the FBI, prove the idea of 1 in 5 completely, totally false.
No, that's just not true. Now, if we look
show me the FBI statistics. Show me the statistics of incidents of rape.
The word reported to law enforcement. I've seen various studies that say only 30 to 40% are reported. You obviously disagree with that.
Even if that were the case, we're eliminating it down to 900 years for it to be 1 in 5. I mean, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. And here's the thing, everyone, you're going anecdotal. No, let me finish here. You're going anecdotal, and everyone watching this knows that not 1 in 5 women they know are raped. And do you know how I know? My wife right now as we speak, right now as we tape this interview, is at a crisis pregnancy center where she volunteers. She knows these statistics through and through, and she has to report it when rape occurs. This is what she does. This is what the FBI does. And the statistics that you have given us today, when we have defined actual rape on which we agree, the FBI or Bureau of Justice, the CDC is a poll, nowhere can you prove that there is a 1 in 5 chance of rape, 1 in 5 incidents of rape. Thus, there is no systematic rape culture.
Okay, so let's say you're correct. I'll grant you that you are absolutely 100% correct. What is the correct number of women who are raped over the course of a lifetime?
Yeah, it's about 0.03 in 5, 6.1 per thousand.
So 6.1 per thousand over the course of a lifetime. What are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on the statistics that you've given me from the FBI and the Bureau of Justice statistics that specifically relate to campus. So,
you're going to ask me to do math, which is going to be difficult for me. 90,000 rapes in 1 year.
We have a common ground.
Law enforcement in 2015. If we agree that half of rapes are reported, 40% of rapes are reported? What do you think it is?
Let's say that. I don't agree, but let's say that for the sake of argument, because I want you to do this math live on air. I don't think it's going to turn out too well for you.
I know you might be right. So let's say it is 40% or 30% is the number that I most commonly see that are reported, which means 70% are not reported. So we'd have to triple that number to about 250 to 300,000 rapes per year. Now, in any society that I can think of, that seems like a lot of rapes per year.
Yes, but it's not 1 in 5.
So it's 300,000 per year. Now, over the course of a lifetime from, let's say, age 12 to age, 70, which is...
But first off, you have, your cutoffs are ageist, as though no one wants to rape anybody over 70 years old. I think that's wildly insensitive.
15% of people are raped ages 12 and 17, 54 between 18 and 34, 28% between 35 and 64, 3% age 65 plus.
Michael,
that's where I'm getting.
now you said we were getting off.
These numbers aren't arbitrary.
No, Michael, you said we were getting off in the weeds earlier. Would it stand to reason that we're more off in the weeds now, that because of the statistics you presented, you're doing math based on assumptions that you can't verify, and we're making estimates?
You and I have just agreed that 300,000 is probably a reasonable number of rapes that occur to women
No, we didn't.
year.
No, we didn't.
And
I said I'll give it to you for this case, for you to be able to do your math, is what I said. I said I didn't say
I did
agree.
my math.
Yeah,
so
it's
you're
not
saying
1 in
the number
5.
is much lower.
Yes, it's
Okay,
still
so
much
what is
lower
the
than 1 in
correct
5.
number of rapes
It's still
per
much
year?
lower than
And
1 in
if it's not
5.
90,000, if it's not
Okay,
90,000 reported rapes per year, which you already agreed was a good statistic, and we both agree that the number of rapes are not reported. 100% of rapes aren't reported. What is the correct number of rapes per year?
Wait, hold on a second.
Tell me.
Did you just say 100% of rapes aren't reported? That's what you just said.
Oh, then I misspoke.
Okay.
What I'm saying is 100% of rapes are not reported, meaning 100% of rapes. You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying.
I don't, and I'm not trying to be a dick.
All rapes aren't reported is what I'm saying.
Yes, okay. All rapes, you're probably saying 100% of rapes are not necessarily reported.
No, we know that 100%
Right, that's
of
what you're
rapes are
saying.
not reported. Every person that is raped does not report the rape. We know that.
Right. I'm giving you a lifeline there. I'm saying what you're saying is not necessarily all rapes are reported. You use the word 100%. It was confusing.
And I'm saying no.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that all rapes aren't reported.
Okay. Can I try and do some math here? Am I allowed to do that since you were doing some math there? So let's take those. Okay. All right. So the number you said 90,000. Let's go with your number. Was it about 300,000 over the course of a lifetime?
No, 300,000 per year.
Per year, and then multiplied over a lifetime up to about 70 years old, from 12 to 70, because no one wants to rape 70-year-olds or.
Well, apparently 3% of rapists do.
Well, I think we can agree that they have a special kind of sickness, Michael. Are you sure you want to be a nightclub comic? So, with the math, 600 years to get to 1 in 5.
Explain that to me, because 300,000
160
times
million.
58, which is the rough range of years that I'm giving you.
Okay,
I'm just going to do the math right now. 300,000 times 58 is 17 million.
Please don't ever run for president. They're going to trot this video out.
You are right. I agree with that number.
Okay, so now let's get back. Can we agree that we got off in the weeds? I would say that I was correct regarding the statistics. Let's say we're not. But can we agree that there is certainly the burden of proof on someone who is claiming a rape culture to prove such a shocking statistic, and it can't be beyond a poll, which doesn't define rape. And so that's a problem.
The poll does define rape. You and I don't have the definition in front of us. Clearly it must, or else it wouldn't be a survey.
Well, again, if it falls under that, the definition is the California statute of affirmative consent, that is any regretful sex.
But we don't know what it falls under. There's no reason to think it would fall under the California, since it's a national survey.
It's a national survey, but of course it would have to allow for that umbrella, considering that certain states would consider that rape.
We don't know. You and I don't know.
It's a poll, Michael. Let's say that. It's a poll which is these are not relied upon as evidence, as the same as reports and incidents from a Federal Bureau of Investigation, from the FBI or from the Bureau of Justice.
Well, but that's not true.
It's not as reliable.
To get their statistics,
so to say that there is a rape culture, again, the issue at large is...
The survey from the FBI is also a poll, according to your definition.
No, it's not.
They get their numbers from the different states which report.
No, it's not, Michael.
Yes, it is. That's how they get it.
They get it from incidents of rape that actually are reported criminally.
Yeah, from each state.
Yes, would we not agree that is even if you say only 40% of rapes, as we gave you, even if you say only 40% of rapes, but I don't agree to, but I'm giving to you for the sake of argument.
I'm saying that's a very high estimate of the number that are reported.
Well, not if you consider people like Lena Dunham who come out and claim rape, and then we find out that it's verifiably false. But let's assume 40% of rapes are reported.
You haven't found that out, and you haven't presented any evidence that's verifiably false. What you're doing is you're denying her experience.
First off, I believe in a system of law.
That was my original intention in writing holy shit the video, because what you're doing is you're denying something that she experienced, and you have no idea.
Well, the burden of proof is on her when she's making an allegation of crime.
She did not. She made an allegation of a personal
said she was
experience.
raped.
She didn't make an allegation of crime, as I said.
Holy crap, Michael! If you say I was raped, is that not a crime?
Of course it is.
Then she accused someone of a crime.
She also said
she accused someone who she used the name
charge.
Barry about National Treasury of Treasury of the College Republicans, where she was. We were easily able to find a time frame. That person was easily able to be found, and we were easily able to trace it back and see if that incident had occurred. And she afterward walked it back. But it is a crime to say I was raped is to accuse someone of a crime, Michael.
She said the person who people found wasn't the person that she said. I'll quote her to you. If you
Michael, you said she didn't accuse anyone of a crime. Saying I was raped. Did someone commit a crime?
She did not specifically name the person.
Michael.
She used a pseudonym.
Okay.
She used a pseudonym.
Is that an accusation of a crime being committed, Michael? For someone who wants to use a poll as data, is someone saying I'm raped? It's a very simple question. If I say I'm raped, was a crime committed? Am I making a claim of a crime?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
but there's a difference between making
because
a claim
that's
of a
important.
crime.
Because
there's a difference between making a claim of a crime and accusing somebody of a crime.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's say it's a claim of a crime, because that would still be filed under that poll. I am saying, and this is important, because I think you might have a blind spot here, just as far as being a little bit out of touch with what people see as rape. People would even read Lena Dunham's own story. Most people did when she made the claim, let's say. She made the claim of a crime being committed. People have read her own story and said that shouldn't be lumped in the same category with the actual rapes that are reported, that you cited. Now, we're then taking claims like Lena Dunham's very loose claims, regretful sex under the influence of alcohol, putting that under the umbrella of rape to create a false 1 in 5 statistic to go out and claim a rape culture is my point.
You're conflating her experience with the CDC statistic, and you and I don't know.
So we believe that she would not be included in the CDC statistic of rape. When she said she was raped, she claimed she was raped flat out, and we're saying that the CDC would not include her when they include people who claim experiencing rape?
I suppose they would.
Yes, they would. And my point is that would, of course, inflate a statistic that would be completely and totally irreconcilable with the actual statistics that we have from the FBI and the Bureau of Justice.
So let's say that the actual claim is what? The actual number of women who are raped. And we're only talking about rape now. We're not talking about sexual intimidation. We're not talking about sexual harassment. We're not talking about stalking. We're not talking about grabbing by the pussy or by whatever it is. We're only talking about rape.
Yeah.
That number is what? 1 in 20?
No, I gave you the number. It's about 6.1 in 1,000.
But you haven't given me any basis for that number other than the Bureau of Justice.
Okay, we're going to keep arguing this until we're blue in the face. I use your statistics and the Bureau of Justice.
And you know it's bullshit.
Right, let's go with the poll that includes Lena Dunham because she found a condom in a plant. Michael, the point is that...
The CDC is a government agency.
Michael, the point is you keep changing, you keep moving the goalposts.
The Bureau of Justice, the study that you said has only to do with college.
No, Michael. I'm also using the FBI statistics. So the reason I'm giving you
300,000 per year total.
Okay, Michael, I need you to understand that I'm giving you a gift here, okay? And let me explain how.
I'm happy to receive any gifts you give me.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming on the show, and I genuinely am a fan of a lot of the work that you've done. So I wish this could have been more amicable. I am using your statistics, the FBI statistics, which are very unforgiving to your stance, okay? In using the Bureau of Justice statistics, which would actually be more lenient on definitions of rape because it would go by college reportings of rape, not even federal reportings or criminal reportings of rape, but girls on college campus who report rape. That would be
to who?
It could be to a governing student body, not just a branch of the United States government or state government. Again, that statistic would be more generous to your argument than the FBI statistic, and it still is nowhere close to 1 in 5. We have no statistical evidence whatsoever outside of one poll from the CDC, which isn't defined, which includes definitions of rape, which most Americans agree aren't rape, to prove that we have a rape culture. And so my point is, when I go out and I make a video citing these exact statistics about rape culture, and you respond, holy shit, it's appalling, the burden on you is to prove it. I don't believe you've done that effectively today.
I understand. I'm saying that the sketch that you created in the video is appalling, and not funny. And
there we go. The
diminishes
famous
somebody's
leftist attack. Not funny.
experience.
That's not an argument.
No, it's just my opinion. I agree. It's just my opinion.
Sure.
And it
And
diminishes
the
somebody's
opinion of your
experience.
audience is going to be that you're becoming decreasingly funny as you become a social justice warrior for causes that you can't prove.
Yeah,
Look at your Michael. You've been so smug tonight, and you've been so smug and condescending in your wrongness. It's remarkable.
If you want to talk about smug and condescending, which I don't, when you continually say you got to stay on track, buddy, that's smug and condescending.
No, smug and condescending is to say you have no proof, and then cite completely irrelevant statistics.
I will leave it to people to go through all the statistics that I cited to determine whether or not they're relevant.
Mm-hmm.
My only point, and remains my only point, is that the video you made,
right,
and the sketch specifically within the video,
is offensive.
I'll just repeat, is not funny, is appalling,
sure,
and demeans and diminishes somebody's experience. And by doing that, and I don't know.
And
Lena
your
Dunham.
rape jokes don't.
I don't know Lena Dunham. I don't have a particularly strong opinion about Lena Dunham.
And your rape
but
jokes
what I do
don't.
have a strong opinion about is people in my life who have undergone difficult, questionable sexual experiences in which they felt like they were victimized, shamed, harassed, or intimidated. And by doing a video where you're creating a cartoon of somebody, what you're doing is, in my opinion,
comedy.
You're, in your opinion, it's comedy.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what you're doing is punching down in the most obvious and juvenile way.
Right. Because a kid with a YouTube channel and a wildly unpopular opinion that's never accepted in the entertainment industry, making fun of someone who has a deal with the biggest network in all of television, Lena Dunham with HBO, that's punching down. I would say, I'm sorry you don't find it funny.
Punching down is when
I would say, I'm sorry, let me respond. I would say, I'm sorry you don't find it funny.
And demeaning them, that is punching down.
Right. Kind of like when you tweeted, what kind of rape? Straight up rape or funny rape? Because you might think a funny rape was funny. So you've made plenty of rape jokes. You just don't like it.
What was that in reference to?
This was in reference to Kumail Kumaji regarding the Daniel Tosh saga about the rape joke. The point is, this is far less sensitive.
What I was doing was making fun of the idea that rape could be funny.
No.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. As a matter of fact, do you need me to provide more context? Yeah, the exchange is, do any of you believe Tosh would think it would be funny if a rape happened in front of him? No, none of you do. It's called sarcasm. You responded, what kind of rape? Straight up rape or funny rape? Because you might think a funny rape was funny.
Right there. Clearly, I'm not saying rape is funny. I'm saying the opposite.
Sarcasm is a tool used in the absence of wit. So we're saying that my issue, of course, I'm not funny, but your opposite day humor
I'm not saying you're
is
not funny.
funny.
I'm saying that sketch wasn't funny.
Right, and I'm saying opposite day sarcasm is very lazy.
Wait, can you see me because it's getting dark in my room? Am I too dark or am I all right?
You look marvelous.
Okay.
What I am saying is, what kind of rape, straight up rape or funny rape? No, as a matter of fact, I don't believe that anyone would read that and say that you are condemning Daniel Tosh for the idea that rape would be funny. So I think that's lazy comedy. But here's the thing. I don't find it offensive, and I find you funny regardless.
Okay.
My point is, you have made far more rape jokes with far less context without actually making rape jokes to make a point, actually pointing towards statistics, as I did in that video, where I was pointing out not only the problem with rape culture at large in Islam, this is the video, but the verifiably false statistic of 1 in 5. And I used that, and I used a topical issue with Lena Dunham's claim of a crime at that point to make my point. You have made rape jokes willy-nilly with no context whatsoever, which would be far less sensitive. But here's the thing. We're in the modern state of comedy, and this is a sad state of comedy where comedians have to sit here and talk about what's demeaning, what's appalling, and is no longer acceptable. I find it remarkable.
On your show, and I didn't say it wasn't acceptable. I said it was not funny and appalling. It's acceptable, certainly. Your audience enjoys it.
You demanded that I recant it.
I asked if you recanted it because you brought it up as a video that was a couple years old.
And there's no more appropriate role of a comedian than demanding someone recant.
It suggested to me that you had an issue with it.
Yeah, but Michael, comedy is going to die a slow death if there are more people with your mindset. Here's my issue here.
I'm doing all right, buddy.
Debatable. If you look at the social media interactions, you're having some problems because people are thinking you're going off the deep end, Michael. That's an issue right now.
Say that again. I didn't understand that.
Okay. You have several million followers and you have several million fans because you've had a leg up, because you've been in a very friendly industry with big networks. You've been on these networks. I applaud you. So you have a huge, huge platform and you have remarkably low interactivity, and you can see as it's steadily decreased along with your self-important accusations leveled at other comedians as to what they can and can't say, or what is appalling and what is not appalling. And I think you're going to dig your own grave.
Did I say that you could or could not say anything?
You said it was appalling and asked me to recant, which I don't think is something a comedian should ever do.
I did not ask you to recant. I asked if you did. I'd never asked you to recant, and I never would. Did I in any point say that you are not allowed to say that, or that you shouldn't say that? I don't think I did. Did I say you don't have the right to say it? I don't think I did. What I said was it's not funny and it's appalling, and I stand by that. It's not funny and it is appalling.
Yeah, and that's what you have to preface your argument with, because you have no argument.
No, Stephen,
Thank
we
you
just
very
spent
much.
an hour arguing.
No, we had to spend an hour arguing, but you had no argument. So you have to preface it with it's not funny, it's appalling, and therefore here are my arguments, which aren't very strong.
All I can say is you didn't move the needle with me at all, and I clearly didn't move the needle with you at all. I don't know if we were just talking past each other or we were just arguing over statistics for an hour, but nothing that you said to me was compelling in the sense that the video, the sketch portion of the video that I was commenting on in any way helped in any way move the conversation forward about either rape or, we both agreed, the problematic term rape culture.
Well, we don't agree on problematic. I think it's an inaccurate term. I would say that this is a very strong lesson, as you'll see by the feedback after this debate. I hope you come back on the show as to punching down, which I think
you're saying I'm punching down to you?
Yes.
I'm coming on your show,
yes.
And I'm going to be dealing with your audience for the next week and a half, yelling at me,
kicking and screaming. Someone in the entertainment industry who's surrounded by people with the exact same opinion. You found an old video.
The way I came on your show, you're mad at me for being thoughtful about the way that I came on your show, as opposed to just saying thanks for coming on the show.
Well, I did say thanks for coming on the show.
And you also said I shirked you and was kicking and screaming.
You did.
Where I've gone out of my way for the last 3 weeks to try to get on the show and to try to make it work after I thought about it and consulted with the people that I consulted with.
I don't know who these people are who you consulted with, but I'm glad that
and I'm not going to name them because I think that would be irresponsible, because I've already identified them as rape victims.
Okay. So we're into the realm back of the anecdotal, where you've identified people as rape victims who you've consulted with, therefore the poll is accurate.
You used your wife anecdotally. You said my wife deals with this all day, every day. That's anecdotal.
I use that pointing to statistics and the statistics that they use.
People accused of former USA as anecdotal.
That was you. Yeah. I didn't even know about that story.
It's a Deadspin.
But you just said I brought it up. You brought it up, Michael.
Yeah, I brought it in, but
you said I used it anecdotally. Why would I use it anecdotally? That was your story.
No, Stephen, when I referred to it, you said that I was being anecdotal by referring to it.
Okay. I would say go to the tail of the tape. You brought up that story and use it anecdotally.
I absolutely brought up
Okay, so then I didn't bring it up anecdotally. Michael Ian Black, I really do appreciate you taking the time. Listen, maybe I didn't move the needle with you. Maybe you didn't move the needle with me, but we'll see. However, what people think about rape culture, if it's a problem, you can tweet me at S. Crowder. You can tweet Michael at Michael Ian Black.
We certainly know what your audience is going to think of it, and I'm prepared for that abuse.
Actually, I think my audience is remarkably respectful. I think you'll be surprised, but they'll disagree with you statistically, and I think they'll present those statistics, and I would encourage them to do so. I would encourage them to respect the fact that Michael Ian Black did have the balls to come up on the program. Not many people do. We know this. It's a problem booking leftist guests. Leftists generally don't like to go on other programs. Most people don't. They don't like getting out of their echo chambers. I have immense respect for you doing so. Just as we're going to talk about Alan Combs, who was a friend of mine, I respect his willingness to stand in there and do it, and I am saying right now to my audience, anyone watching, even if they disagree with you, please keep it respectful, please keep it civil, and if you have evidence that you think is required reading for Michael Ian Black, you can tweet him at Michael Ian Black. And really, I do hope that you come back on the program, and hopefully next time it's less heated. I do appreciate you doing it, sir.
First of all, thank you, Stephen. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking your people to be respectful. And I, whether they are or not, I don't really care. And thank you for allowing me to speak in full paragraphs, even if I was running roughshod over you at times. I apologize for that. I do get passionate.
No, and listen, I appreciate your passion, and I do appreciate you coming on the show, even if we disagree. And at any point, if people take out the torch and pitchforks for you, because they do it for all of us, every single comedian, I will still be there to defend you, regardless of how much I disagree with it. You have my word, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and I'll be happy to come back on when you want me.
Thank you. At Michael Ian Black. Up next, gosh, this is going to be a long show. We will have Pogo, famous musician, and that'll be a little more lighthearted. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Looks like Timmy's in for a checkup because he's feeling sluggish. Oh, Timmy, just as the doctor suspected, you have IEDS, Informative Entertainment Deficiency Syndrome. The good news is there's a cure for that. LottoWithCrowder.com/mugclub. For only $99 annually, $69 for students, active military, or veterans, you can cure yourself of the plague that is IEDS. LottoWithCrowder.com/mugclub. Don't be a bitch.
All right, everybody sit down. Time to start the double secret patriarchy meeting. On today's item list, how to preserve rape culture. Any suggestions? Yes, Phil Cool.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, what if we just make sure that nobody goes to jail for rape?
That's brilliant. The ladies will never see it coming. That's a surefire way to make sure we can still rape, carefree anyone else. Yes, Perry.
Well, I was thinking, rather than not sending anybody to actual prison for rape, how about we just declare rape to no longer be a crime?
Truly, your brilliance is astounding. We know enough judges here at this double-secret patriarchy meeting who'd be willing to oblige. Rape will be legal, that's for sure. Anyone else? Yes, how about you? Miss Jenner, we told you, you're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah, I know. I just come here for the refreshments, mostly, and to get out of the house, but I still do have my penis.
You still have your penis, you say?
Yeah, that's, a lot of people don't know that, but I can go back anytime I want.
That's murky territory. We'll have to put that to a vote. In the meantime, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, how about we let people like me go into the little girls' room? I think that'd be pretty good for rape culture.
Astounding! Do we dare? A Trojan in a Trojan.
I wear magnums, actually.
The principle's the same. Well, there you have it. Rape will no longer be a crime, and men, with their penises intact, will be able to go into the ladies' room. Oh, this will be a bright day for all mankind and the preservation of the all-important Western rape culture. Meeting adjourned, and keep your refreshments down to a 1 per attendee maximum. Caitlin, I'm looking at you. See you next Tuesday.
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up, my lads. Come cheer up, my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard than never to have loved at all. The Federation starship. Come cheer up, my lads. Come cheer up, my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost.
All right. So is that the clip just cut out? You just didn't even have it going anymore. Okay. For those who want to know, what was that? Why were we playing it longer? People online are excited. For people who don't know,
they're out of their mind excited.
Before I introduce this next guest, let me tell you something. I hate him, but here's why. Because he makes me very sad. When I see the workload that he puts out and how much he is brimming with talent, when you actually go and check out his, it's one of those things where you watch and
you can't look yourself in the mirror.
You just feel bad about yourself.
You can't do it.
It was like Dennis Miller with stand-up comedy in his prime. You know him as Pogo from the Land Down Under. Pogo, thank you for being with us, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure, buddy. Thanks so much for having me on. How's it going?
Oh, it's going really well, and I'm going to try not to fanboy.
Likewise, man. Likewise. You guys have bumped my beats for too long.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting us do it and not hitting us with a copyright strike. We wish we could say the same for Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, I might be working on it.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, we'll be hit with 3 hard strikes, and where did Crowder go?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have so much to get into. Let me ask you this first off. For people who don't know, wonderful musician, DJ. But for a while, I was like, hey, man, do you want to come on the show? You're like, I don't really know if that's my thing. And now I've seen you're sort of being more outspoken personally, and you're incredibly articulate, cerebral. What was the reason for the change?
Oh, I appreciate the compliments. The change, I don't know. I just kind of realized that Pogo can be more than just an outlet for music. Like, I want to meet people through my work, and I have, and I want to meet more people. And you guys have inspired me. I mean, you know, when you go to my SoundCloud channel, it's just Pogo, it's just music. But when you go to Louder with Crowder, it's like, you know, it's what you see is what you get. It's you, it's Jared.
Right.
And I really love that idea.
Well, you know, it's fascinating because sometimes we from the other side, we're like, you know, people want us to talk about politics a lot or culture a lot. And sometimes we'll just do videos that are just pure comedy. You know, I started as a comedian. So on the flip side, people are like, hey, there's no point to this. Why are you uploading this? Like, well, I think you probably understand, as a creative mind, you want to be able to do all of the above, but no one's being forced to consume it.
That's right. Yeah, you've got to sort of meet expectation, I suppose. Yeah. I've done so many Disney remixes, and to be honest with you, I'm getting over it slightly. I did kind of put up the Robin Hood thing recently, so
yeah.
I've got to backtrack a bit there. But you kind of want to break out of your box, you know, a little bit, and it sounds like you know how it feels.
Yeah, but you've done that's how I found you, the Disney remixes, was actually Hook, a long time before we were even using your bumps. But you do a lot of other content, too. A lot of people don't maybe realize. I mean, you have how many albums do you have out there? I've got at least, I want to say 4 just on Spotify that I have as download offline.
Yeah, and there's Bandcamp stuff as well. Mostly, I think there's about 4 or 5. That's right, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've done a Scarface mix not too long ago. There was Terminator up there, so there's a bit of a mixture for everybody.
So is the progression you move from G Films, Disney to Terminator and Scarface?
Yeah, and Porn's coming up next.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen. People are just going to be a bunch of 14-year-olds. Oh, you need to tune into Pogo. They say naughty things, and it's remixed.
Forget Fox News. We got to find something better.
Well, yeah, forget the leg camera on Fox News. It's like the cable channel with the squiggly lines that you couldn't quite get, only it's audio. This is so, for those people who don't know, this is the first time we've ever spoken. I told Jared, I was like, I want to talk to him on air because I want people to see what a real reaction is like from two people meeting. So you're in Australia, and you've taken a pretty active, I guess, sort of stance on, maybe it's Australia as well, but the American cultural, political sort of landscape. Maybe not actively like endorsing anyone, but I mean, you know, you've gotten flack for simply even retweeting people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you caught me. I'll confess. I did tweet something to the effect that I like Trump. I like the way that he's not afraid to speak his mind. He'd rather discuss issues instead of dance on eggshells around feelings. He's got his extreme side, I suppose, but I think he's a necessary change in the winds. I think he's an F5 twister that just needs to go straight down that street. But I don't know.
Just barrel roll past Congress.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that's the problem. Yeah, I don't know. I won't pretend to be an expert on the issues, but yeah, it's difficult, man. It's like, is Pogo is he a musician or is it a political mouthpiece?
Right.
You know, it's hard striking that balance when you've got so many people listening to you.
I don't think of you at all as a political mouthpiece. I think of you as someone who has an introspective look on society as a whole. And I think that's a lot of the people sort of online on YouTube who have maybe sort of political opinions. Or I really think of it more so culturally. I will tell you, I've met a lot of Australians in my travels, and unlike a lot of, well, first off, Canada, where I was raised, where everyone just hates Americans, and of course most Europeans, but we don't need to deal with them right now. Australians seem to be a little more level-headed, and there doesn't seem to be this anti-American streak. Am I incorrect about that? You guys just putting on a good face when you're at the hot tub at the Bellamar Hotel?
No, you're pretty much on the dot. You can tune into the radio station here, and you will hear Australians trying to be Americans in hip hop music, etc.
Yes.
No, we're very far from anti-American. We're actually almost entirely American ourselves. But I think you've pretty much on the mark. We are pretty level-headed. We do sort of give everybody a fair voice, a fair go, and that's one of the things I'm proud of as an Australian.
Yeah. What has the PC sort of social justice warrior culture hit Australia yet, or is that more of an American microcosm?
Yes. Yeah, the SJWs are here in full force. There's a TV advert at the moment run by one of the major banks where they've got 2 kids. The one's a girl, the one's a boy. The girl looks at the boy and says, you know, if I found out you had a vagina, I wouldn't pay you less. And the boy looks at the girl and literally just starts laughing and yawning. And I guess in their mind, they're trying to make, you know, the right look unsympathetic.
Yeah.
But I think, ironically, they're just making the left look even stupider. So I don't know. You tune into the radio here. There's people bad-mouthing Trump supporters. Trump supporters are moronic. They're deplorable, etc. What better way to spark conversation with somebody than to throw them around the room? But and there's just all the Black Lives Matter stuff is coming over here as well. You walk through the department store, and there's just all sorts of music about Black Lives this, Black Lives that. Isn't it an African American movement in the first place?
No. That would be far too logical. It's an Australian African movement, I guess, as well. We had that in Canada, too. Yeah. And kids would try and act like they were from Drake. I'm sure you know Drake. Drake is a buttersoft bitch, half Jewish kid from the nicest area of Toronto. And now he talks like he's from Memphis. It's like, that's fine if you want to take creative license, but it's not genuine. And then they're so obsessed with being real, bro. There's nothing less real.
Yeah. It's a farce. Yeah. It's a facade.
So this is a PSA. It's a far cry from kids don't play with blasting caps now to pay those with vaginas more. It's a PSA put out by a political party?
Just by the bank themselves. In fact, they've pledged, I don't know how recent this was, it might have been last year, but they've pledged to deposit extra cash into the female employees of their company, I guess to prove that they don't pay, discriminate, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I don't know. I find all of it kind of divisive at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then the one male accountant at the end of the year going through the books. What is all this redecorating costs? What happened? Well,
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'll be guilty by association just from being on this program with that joke.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say I did notice there was a feminist who was mad with you. By the way, for people who haven't listened, go. Is your YouTube channel just /Pogo?
Yes.
Okay. /Pogo. By the way, good going getting that one quickly because it seems like a lot of people would have been jockeying for Pogo.
That's right. I had to go to court.
Yes. There was one feminist who was mad. Like I liked Pogo until I found out how sickening his comments were about feminism. And I remember watching any comments you've ever made about feminism on any program and read them in print. And they were all entirely reasonable. Do you know who I'm talking about? Is it just some random commenter or was it someone with a platform?
There's been more than one, man. I don't keep track. I don't really care. They never really engage me in a discussion anyway. It's just, misogynist this, misogynist that. No, I don't know who you're talking about. Sorry, what was the comment?
I don't know. They were just saying that you were a horrible person for your comments about feminism. This is all I remember because it's spurred me to look. I didn't have any idea as to what your opinions were. And it's what spurred me to look up. I was like, oh, man, well, maybe he said some really, and I read it and I go, oh. That's about what I think.
Right. Yeah. No, it's why I love watching your guys' show. I was there on the presidential election day. I was up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. You guys went all through. You were streaming for like 6 hours. What was it? 7?
Yes. It was a long
amount of
evening.
time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you guys were so tired. But I remember getting up early because I wanted to see who was going to win.
Yeah.
And I just remember when Hillary didn't show face on stage and they brought someone out to say, go home, everybody, go back to bed. It didn't look good.
No.
It didn't look good for this.
We just laughed our asses off at that. The most fun that night was just tuning into the Young Turks stream at the same time, and they were just having a meltdown.
Yes, that was genius.
I don't know what copyright laws that violates. It's funny. We were so tired. The true story about that is we were across the country. We were in a studio, that old den studio. And when we were done, my wife had already moved. I was in that house, not gay Jared knows, small house, completely empty. I had a mattress on the floor and our studio, and that was it.
Oh my God.
And after that live stream, it was six something hours. We tore down. What was it, Jared? Was it 4 a.m.?
It was, we tore down from like 2 to 4 a.m.
2 to 4 a.m. And I just looked at the house and I was, it's sad memories of house I got married and I looked and it was empty. I said, you know what? I can't do this. And we never went to sleep. Me and my friend drove another 16 hours.
You and Gerald,
Yeah, 16 hours. That was that 24-hour cycle. It took me like weeks to recover. But I remember us sitting there going, can you believe this? This election? All of us were just not really in shock, but just sort of processing it.
Right. Yeah, it was a big one. But I got to take my hat off to you guys. I mean, I thought you stayed fairly neutral throughout the whole thing. I didn't know who won until you guys let it go at the very end. I think you did a really good job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think, you made some comments, like you said, supporting Trump. Here's something that I am maybe concerned about, too, is obviously we weren't really pro-Trump in the primaries. We didn't hate him. Then when he was against Hillary Clinton, we tried to be somewhat objective, support him where we could. I think, and now there's these sort of two factions, right? The social justice left, where it's just everything is offensive. But you're seeing this sort of breakout now on the Trump side, where any criticism is met with this vitriolic anger as well. And I think there are more people like me, Jared, and yourself who are like, well, he's not ideal, but I don't hate him.
He's not the Sam Harris I would have preferred. He's not the Christopher Hitchens that I would have liked, or the Richard Dawkins. But I don't know. He's got a pair of balls on him, for Christ's sake. Let's give him that.
He does. Yeah,
he's an entertainer. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of. Do you think that's kind of what it takes? Do you think that's why Bernie kind of lost out?
I think Bernie lost out because he's a crazy person.
Fair enough.
Well, it's funny. So were you liked Bernie before Trump? Was that your transition?
No.
Okay.
I never even really paid much attention to Bernie. All I remember is someone stole his one of his last rallies from him. They stole the mic or something to that effect. Yeah. And that was more or less the end.
Yes, it was Black Lives Matter. They just came on.
Yeah, that's right.
They just pushed him off.
Do you think the left is responsible for Trump?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think, and here's the thing too, I think they're really responsible because there's been and I don't know, I'm curious as to what it's like in Australia, if you see this happening now or if it's already happened. They were so bad for so long and everything was racist, everything was sexist, everything was homophobic. And we actually wrote an article and a lot of conservatives got mad. We had that famous, remember, Obama poster, but it was replaced with Hillary. And instead of hope, it said bitch. And we said, watch, bitch is going to be the new N-word. Because I used to say if you use the word socialist or anything or anti-American, you secretly meant the N-word because you were racist. And sure enough, it was the switch when Hillary Clinton was the candidate where everyone who was racist overnight was now sexist. And I think that's what pushed people over the edge. They voted. They said, you know what? Screw this. I don't know. Is that what you see there in Australia, kind of observing from afar?
Yeah, look. I was queuing up for a Big Mac at McDonald's, and they had a big newspaper on the counter, and you open up page 3, so you just go 3 pages into it, and they're in like type size 20 or whatever it is like, it's a misogynist world. I've never seen type as big as this, by the way. And it's like that's just somehow culturally okay that and there's a picture of this old lady talking to these little girls at school about how much the world hates them because of their vaginas and how evil the world is towards women.
Right.
And every time I look at this stuff, I just think, you couldn't be more divisive if you tried. You couldn't be more counterintuitive to attaining equality if you were paid to do it. Yeah. It's crazy.
And ironically, say hate. I mean, vaginas are one of our favorite things. So it's just,
that's right.
They take something that should be the great uniter and somehow turn it into an evil animal with nasty pointy teeth.
Yeah. Now it's the wedge between the sexes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's in need of a wedge sometimes. So we're talking about in Australia. What are your political parties like? Where I was from in Quebec, I'm always curious. In Quebec, we had liberals, and then we had liberal separatists because they always wanted to separate from Canada. Does Australia really even have like a true conservative wing or libertarian wing? I'm pretty ignorant with this.
I think we have a party called Greens, which is kind of the liberal side of things.
Okay.
And then we also have Labour.
Okay.
Do you guys have a Labour party there?
No, I'm pretty sure Labour is still like pretty far left. That would be like really pro-union and kind of socialism, I would imagine.
Right. Okay.
So, but I don't know. I mean, there's certain things, for example, Australians would look at Americans and think we're super far right wing, but our corporate tax rate is it 37%? It's way higher than Australia. So the politicization that breaks out geographically sometimes, people just like, oh, Americans are right wing with over a 30% corporate tax rate. That's ridiculous to Australians. Do you know what the income tax rates are in Australia? Do you have any idea?
Well, my dad pays about 50%. He's in medicine, he does radiology, and he pays at least half of his income away. Yeah. And it's crazy.
And do you still have a lot of people saying it's not fair and they want to take more?
Sure. Yeah. No, look, the socialists are on their way for sure. People want to get more for doing less. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Have you always been this way? Because it's clear that you have a very clear work ethic. I mean, from just the output, it's clear that you work really hard. Have you always sort of leaned this way of rugged individualism, or did it happen later in life?
It didn't really happen until I guess the early 20s. I don't think you really know how the world works at the age of 20. We've just elected someone into parliament here at the age of 20.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like the Doogie Howser of politics.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's it. I always believe very strongly in personal accountability, taking ownership of, your choices and your actions. I've always believed in that. So I guess, like, is there such like could you like can you be a conservative libertarian, or is that kind of counter?
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, libertarian is considered very much a part of the conservative wing. No, why do you ask that? Do you think of libertarian as kind of center left?
Well, they're kind of switching places at the moment, aren't they? I mean, I'm finding that like classic libertarianism is no longer trendy.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of been replaced with sort of populism, like the Trumpism kind of thing, and it's certainly not libertarian. Right. It's certainly not small government. But it's funny that you asked that, because I think Jared, I think here in the United States, everyone kind of unilaterally thinks of libertarian as more conservative.
I think fiscally conservative, socially liberal. That's kind of how I was always described.
They think of them pretty much as conservatives who want to smoke pot.
Yeah, pro gay marriage, pot, whatever. But don't tax me.
Yeah, that's about it. Does that exist in Australia, like libertarians?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Pretty much. That's pretty much where the Greens are coming in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're just losing their seats to 20-year-olds.
Yeah. Too often it goes far left. There's a really interesting thing that happened to me the other day. Have you guys heard of the Dakota Access Pipeline project?
Yeah. Dakota Access Pipeline. Yeah. What's her name from? What's her name from the Guide to Your Stars? That girl, the Insurgent series. That girl, that actress.
Oh, Shane Ludwig.
Yeah. She was showing up and protesting like a semi-retard. Continue.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, I got emailed by the people protesting whose families were getting arrested by the cops for, I guess, holding up production, getting in the ways of contracted work, sabotaging equipment. And they asked me, can you make some kind of, track about this? Like, can you maybe remix, like if I send you footage of the guys protesting, can you remix it and help raise awareness of this? And I'm kind of two minds about it. Like, this is kind of where I'm on the fence, because one of the, I don't know if you guys have seen my whole World Remix project, where I take a camera and a mic into the real world and I do what I do with movies, but with people and with cultures. And one of the first things I thought of doing was doing Native American culture, like finding a campfire, like the classic sort of Red Indian tribes, and doing a remix around that.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'd like to do something like this, but I don't know how I feel about putting, political agenda behind music.
Right.
I think music needs to stay a universal language, and I can't stand this new far left hip hop that I'm hearing on the radio now.
Cough, Beyonce, Lemonade, cough.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's just nuts. But that's pretty much going ahead now, right? That project is. Yeah,
it is, which is fantastic. By the way, Beyonce's in the Illuminati. That's the real problem there, Jared. So get your facts correct. We meet on Tuesdays. I don't have a problem with it as long as people accept the consequences. But it's a little different because I come from the world of comedy. I I was an actor first and then stand-up comedy in my mid-teens, did that really up until sort of Fox and the news thing. In stand-up comedy, it's sort of expected for you to fillet yourself in a way where you open up about your opinions. Some people get away without doing it. So, but most comedians I know at least dabble in the realm of politics and culture. With music, I think with comedy, people are going in to hear your thoughts on the world. With music, often, I think like films, they're going to escape the world. So I think maybe you're right on that. But I do think, there's also the other part of me that says everyone else is doing it. So I wouldn't mind seeing Pogo dip his toe into the water.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I tried to keep the Trumpular piece as neutral as I could because I didn't know if he was going to win or not, and I didn't really want to lose any followers. Pogo does pay my bills. I want to be careful.
Sure.
Yeah. And I did get a prospective client wanting me to make a Bernie Sanders remix, and I was like, let me get back to you on that.
Not a very melodic voice either. It'd be tough to work with. 1%! Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I have to get the auto tune on maximum.
Yeah.
But I have to kind of walk a tightrope.
Right.
And one of the things that I have found recently is that there's a line between your art and yourself as a person.
Sure.
Like if you go onto my SoundCloud and you like my stuff, you retweet it, you post it, you comment on it, it's got nothing to do with me, really. Like I'm actually very different from my music. Like you listen to Alice and Wisher, you think of someone who's light and fluffy and bubbly and optimistic. I'm actually kind of the opposite in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
At least I have been since my balls dropped.
Yes.
Shit has changed. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let's not put shit balls in the same sentence. That just creates a visual that no one needs.
No, that's right. Yeah.
No, it doesn't surprise me though. Really creative people, and I mean, clearly you are, tend to be conflicted because, you can't tell someone and that's one thing you talked about with Tommy Sotomayor on social media, right? You were talking about sort of shutting off social media, and I know a lot of people say, don't be so sensitive. I would imagine it's pretty hard for someone to tell you that because there has to be a hypersensitivity to be able to watch a film that everyone else just watches and says, that's a good movie, and create an entire song and melody out of it. You have to be more sensitive than the average person to be creative.
Right. Don't be more sensitive. I don't remember that reaction.
Well, I just mean as far as online, like when people say, you're like, well, if you look at social media, it can be toxic. And you'll get people on social media, if ever we mention those things, like, who cares? People insult you online. Who cares? Don't be sensitive. It's like, well, yeah, but everyone has a reaction. It doesn't mean you're hypersensitive or offended. It's just, as a creative person, you're going to react to people responding to your art.
I don't think it's got anything to do with sensitivity. I think we have a culture now in which you've got your self-image in a smartphone. You've got your self-worth in your pocket, in a slab. All right. And that's not just the sensitive ones of us. That's everybody.
Right.
And my angle was, it'd be nice to try and cut back on that. Instead of going for likes and retweets, how about we go for hugs and kisses and human connections for a change, back in the good old days.
Right.
That was my angle about it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good point, and it's tough because obviously you also make your living through this sort of, there's no more gatekeepers with social media.
Absolutely. It's a big conflict. Yeah.
How do you balance that?
On Twitter every day. Sorry.
How do you balance that?
Jeez, I don't know. Well, I haven't been on Facebook in 2 weeks now, like I said in my vid.
Okay.
It's been great. I kind of find, I don't know. Facebook is just a torrent of memes and GIFs. It's just people hungry for social validation. 3 seconds of ha-ha here and there.
Yeah.
I find no substance in it at all. And I'd be less insulted if you wrapped your lips around a revolver than thumb through it in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, I find that offensive. I really do. Like, I've made an effort to make a connection with you, and you're just thumbing through pictures of your mates shitting into a blender or, I don't know.
Maybe the problem is your friends.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It's like, are these my friends anymore, or are they like pixel pals?
Right.
Who, I don't know. We're just kind of crossing over into a digital age, and I don't know if I like the direction. I don't know if I like the culture. I think if I could go at it physically, I'd go at it with a flamethrower strapped to a pulse rifle. I don't like it. At the same time, I think it's great. Like, it's obviously really useful.
Right.
I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I've met a lot of people through it. And without Pogo and without social media, I don't know where I'd be socially.
Yeah.
But it's becoming toxic. It's becoming a dependency. Like I said, you've got your self-worth in a can now. Mm-hmm. If you don't get likes and thumbs up, from this construction of your self-image, you take that away as like, oh, am I valid as a person? Am I good? Am I likable? You're still tugging on your mother's dress like you did as a child.
Right. Yes. And and I think we see that not only with social media, but this culture of, like you said, likes, clicks, fame. I think that's why this Milo thing has been so hard to watch, disregarding the opinions, is his entire identity was wrapped up in how much controversy he could generate or how many people were paying attention. And so, obviously I'm a Christian. I imagine when you talk about Dawkins and stuff, we differ on that. But man, I've been praying for the guy because I'm like, I know that he's the kind of guy where this will probably be harder for him than anyone else because that is his identity. Just like if someone were banned from Facebook where they spend all day on Facebook, it'd be way worse than your Aunt Tilly who checks it every couple of weeks. And that's one negative I might say about Donald Trump is that culture of kind of celebrity, right? And the retweets and the controversy. I think that could exacerbate it.
Yes, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I don't think Trump should be on Twitter nearly as much as he is. I don't think he's helping himself there. Yeah. He made the comment once, it's like having your own personal newspaper, which I get, but it does kind of sort of project a certain narcissism about the guy, which I don't think helps him at all.
No, I don't think helps him at all. And like you said, it's a great thing. I mean, there are no gatekeepers anymore, right? We're able to get this show out to people, and we do really well, and everyone makes a living. But
that's it.
But you know what the truth is? Most people, like if you see in your comment section, most people watch a video or they listen to a track, and if they like it, they move on. The people who stay in the comment section or who riddle your Twitter timeline with negative comments, those are not normal people in real life. These are unstable human beings, but we see more of them than ever because they're the only ones who use these platforms.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be careful when you take feedback from these things. It's like when I get a compliment on my music, am I taking that, like, am I going to store that in myself or am I going to store that in Pogo?
Right.
Because really, 99.9% of my followers, maybe your followers as well, maybe more than 99.9%, they don't know you as a person. They don't know you as a friend. They know you as a brand, right?
Yeah.
So you have to like separate yourself from your brand. And I've found that quite difficult. I've actually gone through a few different Facebook accounts. I did delete a Twitter account once because of a backlash on things that I then took personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to learn how to separate yourself from it. It's a challenge sometimes.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge because you want that engagement, but you also want what's best for people, and you know that it's not healthy for them to be constantly engaged in flame wars or comment wars. You know, we have some people who are super regular listeners, and and obviously Mug Club members. We're incredibly grateful, but I'll see them like arguing in the comment section all the time, and I've sent a couple messages like, "Listen, man, thanks, I appreciate it, but don't feel like you need to take this on. I mean, you know, go outside, take a breather," and that's effectively telling them to do the opposite of what we need for revenue, and it's a challenge.
Yeah, I'd say that's a conflict of interest for sure. I know what that's like. Yeah. No, I was definitely clued into the whole Milo controversy recently. I think I saw some kind of live feed on Facebook about his comments.
Yeah.
The comments in the Facebook live feed were just toxic as hell.
Yeah.
No one's interested in discussion. It's just Milo's a pedophile this, Milo's a pedophile that. There's no debate happening. There's no discussion happening.
Yeah.
And in an environment like that, I'm not surprised someone like Trump won.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, with the Milo thing, we discussed it on the show Behind the Paywall because we have a longer show. We can do it with more nuance. We know people who are there are people who are typically more informed and more willing to listen to an opinion. We spoke with Chad with AIDS, our friend who actually was molested as a teenager, who spoke about the issue. And what it came down to with us was, listen, I mean, I know Milo. We had him on the show back when he had a few thousand Twitter followers. I think it came down to two things. Okay, was it a joke? I don't think anyone was offended by the joke, or was it advocacy? And if you look at the comments in their full context, you can certainly see the argument that it was advocacy. And then it comes down to, okay, what's your opinion on a relationship between a grown man and a 13, 14, 15-year-old? And is it consistent with what your position was yesterday, with Lena Dunham? Those were the questions people needed to ask themselves. Instead, they got out the torches and pitchforks.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I might be wrong about it, but when he was talking about the benefits, quote unquote, of a relationship between those two people, wasn't he referring to his own experience?
He was referring to his own experience, and then later he said, we have all the clips on Monday's show. He said, I think the age of consent laws are about right. But then people cut that context because he went on to say, though I think some people could be able to give consent younger, like myself. And if you look back, himself was, I think, 13 or 14 years old. So it sounds like he is saying there's some people who should be able to have sexual relationships at 13 or 14 years old in its full context. I don't agree with that. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. That's, I was a bit gutted to see what he said and to see him going up and make an apology, because I've always had this image of Milo as being a take no shit from anybody kind of guy.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's ever apologized, and I think he said it's going to be the last, didn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on that.
No.
I don't think the way Milo has existed can exist anymore in the future. And that's the thing. He has to come to grips with that and decide how to proceed. I could be wrong. But I can still disagree with some of the things he said and still not be happy about the clear political hit job that it was, taking something from a year out. They could have just at that point brought it up, said this is wrong, and dealt with it then. The fact that they sat on it for a year tells me that, there are people with agendas across the board.
That's right. Yeah. So you think his 15 minutes of fame are up? They've taken a hit.
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I know that regardless of whoever agrees or disagrees with his opinion, it's going to be a really tough, clawing, pride-swallowing climb back up to the top, right?
Yeah.
And then if these people allow you on television, it's going to be you're one of many panelists, because if you don't behave, you're out. And so you can't be the guy who generates protests and controversy and still have that platform. And a difference kind of with what we do, we own all of our own platforms. We've had people offer to come in, and we could have worked for other big sites, whether it's sites like Breitbart or other conservative sites. We opted not to. And so when you're an employee, you have that stripped from you. I don't know. I don't know what he has in his savings account to bet on himself and bankroll himself right now. I'd like to see him do something, but it's going to be a process.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think he's. There's some people saying, oh, Breitbart's actually kind of brushed him out. They've actually swept him out. It's not his resign, but I don't know. Probably just.
Yeah, there's always some of that. When we were in the studio,
there's always a bit of that.
We talked about that. Edward the sound guy said, "Did you hear Milo's having a speech today? He's giving a press conference." I said, "No, I know I know from behind the scenes Breitbart's giving a conference." And then I found out that his was like a half hour earlier. I said, "This is an arms race for someone to say either you're fired or I resign." And but, I mean, again, that's ego on both sides, and that's not a healthy way to make a decision.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we can get off the Milo thing. It's tough, but it's tough ego right in this age. I mean, someone like you is as successful as you are, and you show up to DJ, and you have all these people showing up because they're fans of yours. I think there's nothing more corrosive to the human spirit than success, right? Because you can see that
I agree.
and just coast.
Yeah, success is your worst enemy. I've heard it said before, and your potential is your worst enemy too.
How is that potential is your worst enemy? That's interesting.
Well, because you're always... It's actually a line from Star Trek Next Gen, actually. Someone said,
God, okay.
Someone said... Yeah. You thought it was like a Richard Dawkins quote for a second there. No, it was something to the... I think if someone was saying it to Wesley, like, your own potential is going to be your worst enemy, because... you know how much better you can be. Did you see the Whiplash movie with J.K. Simmons?
J.K. Simmons and, well, hold on a second. Not Gay Jared hates Miles Teller. He hates, I don't know why. But
he's slowly coming around.
Yeah, the drummer.
Why?
I don't know. There's something personal, I think. What happened with him?
He looks like a thumb. I don't know.
Okay.
It bothers me.
Not a valid criticism. Okay, but back to Pogo. He's our guest, not Gay Jared. I heard it was fantastic. Continue.
No, I was saying... That's when I was talking about potential, I instantly thought of Whiplash, because that whole movie is about, the worst two words you can say to anybody with aspiration is good job. Because the moment you pat someone on the back and say, okay, that's great, it's incentive to stop trying. Right. It's incentive. If someone said good job to Buddy Rich, would he have been Buddy Rich? And same thing with Louis Armstrong. Right. And I think that's kind of what the guy meant when he said to Wesley in Star Trek, your potential is your worst enemy. It's always going to be 2 steps ahead of you. You'll never get to where you want to be. But I guess you kind of have to use that as motivation at the same time. Yeah. And I can't abide mediocrity in anything. Right. That's why I never listen to mainstream music. I turn the radio off every time I get in the taxi or a car.
You think it's all pretty mediocre today?
I think it's formulated. I think, there's like an average of 13 producers behind every mainstream pop track now. It's formulated. It's 12 guys getting into a boardroom and piecing it together. It's awful.
Okay, now that we're getting more kind of philosophical, here's a question for you. I've asked several people before, particularly like the high-level athletes and high performers that we've had in this show. Since we're talking about potential, what is it that bothers you more? What do you think is harder to swallow? And it may take time to think about it. When you've done everything that you could, when you've worked as hard as you possibly could, and you still came up short, or is it harder when you look back on a mistake that you made and could have avoided?
I'd say it's... that is a thinker. That's a thinker for sure. Well, I don't know. Like in the case of the Data Picard thing, I had to get to a stage where I was like, okay, the tunic looks a bit shit in this shot, but I've spent the past 4 weeks almost all day, every day working on this. I have to just say this is okay. Right. Because like someone in your position or someone in my position who do this thing for a living, like we're good at what we do. So your idea of crap might be most people's idea of okay. Right. And my idea of, mediocre is probably most people's idea of decent. Right. So, there's perfecting something and then there's getting it out there. Right. And the problem I've always had is I want to perfect it. I want to get it perfect. And I've got so many projects I haven't finished because of that mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you still finish a lot of projects. Actually, Not Gay Jared was talking about how fantastic the lighting was in Data Picard. The green screen.
The green screen lighting was like on point.
Yeah, you meshed it. Our green screen is just total crap with reflection of green and stuff. But because we work in news, we're like, we got to get it out today, otherwise the story's done.
That's one of the first things I noticed. I'm like, man, you put a lot of time into this.
Yeah, no. Your thing is the Data Picard. For people who haven't seen it, you matched the lighting of the environments, which is very hard for professional lighting crews to do in big budget films. That's not easy to do. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. No. Stop being the bullshit humble. Look at this. For people who aren't watching this, look at this. That looks like he's outside there. That's a green screen. It looks like he's out there in the desert in front of those rocks and whatever this. I'm not a nerd. I don't know what the Starship thing is, but some kind of spaceship. That really is. Look at this, Jared.
Yeah.
That's very difficult. People pay a pretty penny to hire people, and I know them who can make that lighting work.
Well, it took a hell of a long time. Many sleepless nights of having to reapply makeup, and then it was getting all over my camera.
Yeah.
I had to hire the lights out like 4 nights in a row. It was awful. You guys, do you guys have a crew when you do your vits, or is it like
no? We do, and that's what we we have the whole Mug Club like subscription. It's less than $6 a month, and a big reason for that is so we're not dependent on places like Google and pretty much Google as far as advertising, whether it's YouTube or on our website. So it allows us. We have a bunch of people. What do we have? We have 5-6 people who work on the show.
Yep.
And then we have
5-6 people and another
3 people on the website.
4 people on the website.
Yeah. So
to
put this regular amount of content, it requires more people.
Right.
And I'm not very skilled at those things.
Okay. Well, Jared's your producer. You seem to be in good shape.
That remains to be seen. Especially it depends on when. It depends.
Don't compliment him too much.
No. No pat in the back for not K. Jared. Especially because he actually hasn't even accomplished anything of which he should be proud yet. So it's not even me being disingenuous. But that Data Picard thing, we watched it and right away. I mean, I went to film school, didn't finish. My brother graduated UT Film with honors, and we were all watching it and going like, "This is really, really well done." So hats off to you. And that was a slow build. That wasn't one of your most popular songs right away, and now it seems like it's gained traction.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, no, thanks, man. I really appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you guys like it. It was a lot of fun. I'd like to do one with the Joker in the future. Everyone says, because I don't know if you've seen the Wizard of Med vid.
Yes.
I'd love to do that as the Joker. Not the Heath Ledger Joker. No one's ever going to top that. But I think the Mark Hamill Joker from the cartoon series would be a lot of fun.
Oh. Yeah. Also, Mark Hamill in real life now looks like the Joker, so it came full circle.
Yes, it does.
That's some rough living, Mark Hamill. Oh my God!
Is he going to be in the next Star Wars film?
I hope he gets killed off.
Yeah, you think he's
a big fan.
Dog's had its day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just watch it and you're sad. You're like, oh, and that's Luke Skywalker now.
They tacked him onto the end of The Force Awakens, didn't they? He was there for like 5 seconds with what's her face.
I don't even remember. I fell asleep at that movie.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Not gay, Jared. What happened?
I think the universe took the right Skywalker, but they could have taken Mark Hamill too, probably.
Okay.
He's bound to be probably the weakest. Like Carrie Fisher is by far the weakest link of that Star Wars movie, and I think he's bound to be the weakest link of the next one.
It's the age that's catching up to them. Yeah. Isn't Tarkin like CG in Rogue One? That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Who?
Tarkin, one of the main characters. And actually, they shouldn't have. They did that wrong too. They shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It was obviously
like playing Uncharted or something on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I don't know these things. I have a wife. No, I just can't do it anymore. Like this, it's just I don't know. It's like Call of Duty or like Xbox games. I feel like it requires so much engagement that I don't have the time for it.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks all your time away. I played World of Warcraft for 7 weeks once to get up to level 19. I looked back at my life and I was like, what have I actually accomplished? Like, what if I spent this time making videos? Oh, God.
Yeah. Or love. Yeah. So that's a rough few weeks when you look back like, oh, gosh, I could have done this. So here's something that's interesting. And then we have to go relatively soon. You brought up Christopher Hitchens and Dawkins and who was the other? Sam Harris. So I assume you're an atheist.
I wouldn't call myself an atheist. I don't know. Like we live on this ball. Like we're living on this tiny rock in this minute little quadrant of the universe, and we have the arrogance to think we know how the universe came about and what's out there and what's behind it all. I just prefer to keep an open mind than to go saying what is and isn't.
Right. Okay. So,
well, the Earth is flat. If you've been listening to Kyrie Irving lately too.
Yeah. So. Well, we learned about that at the Tuesday Illuminati meetings. Yeah, it's the flat Earth. You can tell by the horizon. Put a ruler up to it or a protractor. It's something like that. We're scientists. It's interesting that you say that because we have, at one point it was this huge faction. It was kind of like the left. Really, the social justice warrior left used to be all these atheists sort of online, particularly on YouTube and places like that. And their whole mission was just tar and feathering, hating, particularly Christians. Let's not say religious people. They don't care about Buddhists. They don't care about Hindus, Christians. And we have a lot of people like yourself who watch our program. And I'm pretty open about my faith, and we can always discuss it. But it's still a very libertarian-minded faith. This is what I believe. This is how I live my life. But I certainly don't want to legislate it, and I certainly don't want to proselytize, with people who have no interest in it. So it's interesting that that's come full circle, because I think 4 years ago, someone like yourself would never have listened to me.
Well, I don't know. Look, I was born a Christian. I was raised a Christian by my mother. She dragged me off to Sunday school and all that. And I spent most of my teenage years believing in a God and thanking him for my fortunes. I would say, if I do die one day and I get to heaven and there is a God and it's like, oh, this guy's responsible for all my success, I'd be feeling pretty shitty if I didn't pay my respects while I was alive. But I don't know. It's not that I don't believe in a God. It's not that I do. It's just I don't feel I have the information.
Well, and that's fine. But my point is it's interesting that now we're able to have this conversation, right, at an intersect, whereas at one point, certainly online, it seemed like that was impossible. It seemed like the divide between deists and agnostics and atheists, regardless of politics, like there's no way. And now culturally, we have far more in common than the new atheist left. And that's sort of an interesting development to me.
That's right. Yeah, in as much as social media has kind of pitted the sides against each other, it seems to have opened up a lot of room in the middle for a meeting of minds, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, we can talk, like we'll have Sargon of Akkad on, and I remember Sargon of Akkad came on and said, so many people hate you. And I said, well, why is that? He's like, your crazy opinions, like you don't believe in evolution. I said, that's not true. And it's like, well, crazy opinions like you don't believe in climate change. That's not true. Oh. Well, crazy opinions and I'm like, no, this is the thing, because people just haven't listened to how we've expressed our opinions on here. They assume this because it's easier to make the argument. I think a lot of people of faith have been tossed into this one box, and now we have we have atheists in the show all the time, and a huge portion of our audience are not conservatives, which is a big shift. I would say, what would you say, Jared? Last year and a half?
Year and a half, maybe two.
Yeah. And we have the ability, all the analytics online, to see that. So I wonder if you'll see that from the other side, where, not being political, just doing music, you might see a lot of your fan base become more. I just think people are becoming actually more engaged in that, which is surprising because we thought it would be the opposite.
I agree. I think people are losing interest in taking sides and pointing fingers and gaining interest in discussing and exchanging ideas. I was pleasantly surprised by the feedback to the Trumpula video. I thought for sure I'd lose subscribers. I thought for sure I'd get thumbs down. It's 90% thumbs up the last time I checked. And the comments are just super supportive. People are just taking a chill pill for a change. People are seeing that, the whole divide between left and right, far left, far right. People are trying to, I think most people are starting to fall more. Most people I know are coming into the middle more. And I think it's really, really, really reassuring to see that.
Well, and I've talked about this with Ruben, and not to disagree, I don't so much think it's the middle. I mean, I think if you look at your viewpoints, I think it's distinctly right-wing. And I don't mean that as an insult, because I know people hear that. But the willingness to simply engage in ideas and listen is seen as something that's so not tolerated on the left. It's like, oh, okay, I'm a centrist. Well, actually, no. It's just that the left won't discuss these ideas as a general rule. Obviously, we're speaking in a generality. There are exceptions at all. And so we think of it as moderate, but I mean, for me, being really a pretty hardcore libertarian on most things, I'm not really in the center, but I'm able to meet people in the center.
Right. Which, I totally get you. Yeah, I'm definitely sort of right of centre for sure. I wouldn't call myself far right, but I've got conservative values for sure.
Well, it's just about the individual responsibility is the main thing, right? If you believe in that,
for me, it's just owning up to your own agency, and that's one of the things that I don't see feminists embracing, or socialists for that matter. I think we have a culture now where it's about getting more and doing less, and I can't abide it. I can't stand it.
Let me ask you this: how old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, you're 28, so you're our age. How tall are you, by the way? Because you look very tall.
I'm about, well, you guys do inches there, right? So I'm 185 centimeters. What the hell is the conversion on that? Sorry.
Oh, gosh. You know what? In Canada, they were arrogant bastards who claimed they did metric, but they still would do like 6'1", 6'2". They didn't do the height that way. Hold on. Matt Gagear is calculating it.
We're looking it up here. Yeah. We'll get back to you.
Okay. We'll get back to you.
Let's take a standby.
So you're 28, and you talk about feminism a lot. So, Are you dating? Are you currently in a long-term relationship? Or my interest is what the dating world is like for someone like you in the age of sort of angry feminists. Does that create a standoffish approach, somewhat of an atmosphere of fear? I'm married, so I haven't been in it for a while.
I think despite all the achievements that feminists claim to have made, we still live in a culture where the man initiates.
Okay.
Where the man provides. I think, at least where I live, that's still very much the case.
Yeah.
When you talk about, if you want to talk about the courting game, I think it's still the guy that has to do all the proving. Right. How much of a provider are you? What sort of prospects have you got on the horizon? What sort of house have you got? What sort of job? What's your aspirations, etc. Girls just got to say yes or no. The girl's got the Tinder profile. The guy's got to do all the work.
Yeah.
And I'm not having a grump about it, but it's still the way it is. And I'm not convinced feminism is working against that. I think it might actually be supporting it.
Well, I think because more young women are not identifying as feminists. But I do wonder, if we were dating right now and you go home with someone and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, front page news, I'm accused of rape. Damn it. That's the fear.
That's just in Pogo is 6 foot tall.
Pogo is 6 foot tall. Okay.
There you go.
6 foot tall. So there you go.
6 foot.
Pretty tall.
What's your height, Steve?
I was 6'3" until I ruptured a disc, and now I'm 6'2" something.
Oh wow, you're a tall motherfucker.
Well, you know what it is I don't have, a lot of people are surprised, I don't have a big head. Like when I used to be on Fox, people like Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly's guys, they have these massive heads.
Josh Brolin head.
Josh Brolin's like 5'7".
Hey, he's a little guy.
So I have a relatively, I don't have a small head, but I don't have a massive head. And so often when people meet me, like, oh, I thought you were a little guy. Well, these are the breaks.
You were saying about feminism. I mean, my whole thing with feminism is I don't see how you can solve a conflict of interest between multiple parties by focusing almost solely on the interests of one.
Right.
To me, that just seems counterintuitive to the whole thing. And the other thing, the other angle they have is like women have to be more masculine. The whole culture we have now it's like, as much as they want to feminize men, I see more and more women in my day-to-day life being very manly and being very masculine, and I don't find that attractive at all.
I'm that way too. And it's funny, as someone who's done combat sports, like in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we'd have girls who were very pretty and they would be, grappling and they'd be like, I'm just like one of the guys. And first off, they weren't. It was like, we had world champions who, fantastic, right? By black belts, and I'm a decent hobbyist, and it's just like, okay, we can pick them up and move them how we want them. The strength differential is it's cute, right? It's cute.
Right.
And then they'd want to be like, we're one of the guys, and then they would want to date guys in class, and it's like, that's cool, but that's not really what a guy is looking for. I don't want my wife to share my opinion on sports or even films necessarily. I'm fine with her being girly and different. That's attractive to me.
Yeah, I agree. They're trying to change a culture, and I don't think you can change a culture any more than you can change the weather.
Yes. Oh, that's a good point. I feel like you'd have a better chance at changing the weather than changing women.
Yeah.
Although actually, my wife will vehemently, I just got an apology from her today. Oh. That was rare.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we got into a discussion, and I have been very, very good about my anger issues. And I was like, do you see what you're doing here? She's like, what? I said, you are arguing with the wall because I'm not going to do this. And then I came back from the gym, and she said, you know what? You were right. It was illogical. It was an issue that I was upset about. I'm sorry. And I was like, whoa. But yeah, she's great. It's one of those things too. That's why I'm not. Nothing to do with same-sex marriage. I'm very pro-marriage, which is rare for people our age, because I think it's a great thing, to grow up. I think it's a great thing for a man and a woman, provided you do it right and find the right person,
Yes.
So I hope to see it make a comeback, because in Quebec, nobody got married. I don't know what that's like in Australia, but outside the U.S., in Quebec, it was just you'd shack up, live together, and it was considered the same thing.
Yeah. I'm noticing more and more of my friends are losing interest in relationships and getting more interested in shits and giggles. I know what you mean.
The two aren't mutually exclusive. Okay, right. Pogo, what's next for you? I mean, for people who are watching this, go check out the music. Pogo, he does all of our bumps. Hopefully one day he'll do a custom Lano with Grinder bump. Who knows? What's next for Pogo?
I've got shows coming up in Perth, West Australia. If it weren't for the whole US thing, I'd be playing them there with you guys. It'll be awesome fun.
Yes.
I've got Vivid Festival coming up in Sydney very soon, and I am working on another EP, which will be coming out on iTunes and Spotify shortly.
When can you come to the United States finally?
2021, I think it is. I'm past my 10-year ban period. Yes.
Now, for people who don't know, it wasn't really a horrendous crime. You used the wrong work visa, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, I didn't go smuggling crack or anything like that. I did kind of sort of have the wrong work visa, it turned out. I was too young and dumb to be doing what I did. I made a bunch of cash without the right visa. They found me at a border, I think, between Canada and the States. I got in prison for 3 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, don't. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like Shawshank Redemption.
Convict on this show.
What was it like?
That's it. Close the stream.
And what melodies did that inspire?
That's where the Scarface track came from, for sure.
Wait, hold on. What was that like? Jail? Did you have a cellmate? Were you safe?
I was all right. I had a single cell to myself for the most time, and then they just opened you up into the population. They had to give me peanut butter sandwiches to help me keep my weight up because I was getting very thin. Prison food is very, very minuscule.
Yeah.
But the worst part was not being in jail. The worst part was just not knowing when you're going to get back out, and all your friends and family are on the other side of the planet. But I desperately want to get back there, man. Nobody parties like this, like you guys over there. I had people jumping up on stage with me. It was so much fun. You guys get so into it. I want to get back there ASAP.
Good Lord. We should have led with that, Jared. You guys was in jail.
Damn it.
Damn it. We talked about all this stuff nobody cares about. Everyone wants to know what happened in jail. And how he... Because you don't look like you would fare very well in a serious prison.
Well, I made sure not to drop the soap in the shower.
Yes.
Just tell him you're Macklemore. See what happens.
Oh, God.
Might do better.
Well, so I would imagine you don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the illegal immigrants here who feel as though they're being oppressed by not being allowed to stay. When, by the way, you use the wrong work visa. They use no visa.
No visa.
They walked across
They use no visa.
that's a stream.
Yeah. I can't comment on immigration too much over there. It's not really something I'm too familiar with.
No, not many people cross over the border there in Australia. Kind of hard to get there.
Yeah.
It's even if people come here by water, it's the Cubans and they're just on a floating bar stool because they'll take anything to get to the United States. So
if someone washes up over there, it's because they're on MH370 and they finally found the damn plane.
Probably. All right, Pogo, we have to go, brother. Where's the best place for people to find you?
You guys can check me out at youtube.com/Pogo, and a whole bunch of tracks also go up to soundcloud.com/Pogo Mix.
Absolutely. And people, please do support his stuff because the bigger he gets, the cooler we are for having copyright-free music on our program. And thank you so much, Pogo. We'll have to have you back soon and talk more about the prison experiences.
Let's do it, man. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's do it. Stay tuned for more, which I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Oh no, little Jimmy, it appears you've contracted AIDS.
Oh man.
The good news is, Mug Club is scientifically proven to increase your enjoyment of life by 142%.
Oh gee, so I'll be cured?
No, Jimmy. You're still going to die very soon. Shouldn't have engaged in all that unprotected homosexual intercourse.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
It pays to be prepared. You don't need to be a doomsday prepper or conspiracy theorist. It's worth it to have peace of mind, and that's why right now Louder with Crowder has a promotion with preparewithcr.com, where you can go do this online at preparewithcr.com or call 888-457-3453, where you can get your 30-day supply of emergency food, drink, dehydrated food for $99 shipped free. That's at preparewithcr.com or call 888-457-3453. Set it down somewhere in your basement, your den, and forget about it and just know that it's there if you need it. Hey, don't! You won't speak unless spoken to.
Sorry. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Use the bathroom bucket.
Okay. This way?
Yeah.
Close my
kata again. I've been working on my kata. Did anyone else? No one else in this room did martial arts when you were a kid?
No,
never.
That was for nerds.
Oh my gosh!
We just said hiya and bounced around as Power Rangers and called it a day.
It was the stupidest thing in the world, kata. And that was when I remember they would. You're supposed to imagine you're pulling out the moves and you're doing it, and then I knew this is why I'm going to get my ass kicked. This clearly has no practical application in the real world.
Might have something to do with your words.
My words?
Getting your ass kicked.
Oh, well, yes, that did too. I thought you meant my words in kata. You're not supposed to speak during kata. Kata is silent. It is meditation in movement, Scott.
It's supposed to be seen and not heard. Just
Many
like
apologies.
Scott.
I guess they don't teach that in Krav Maga. It's not a
Krav Maga's badass.
It's not a refined art, Krav Maga. They don't do kata. They just launch rockets from 200 miles away. Listen, I didn't plan on doing this today. I had something else I wanted to talk about, but pretty sad day for me. Alan Colmes. I know a lot of people will be surprised. Alan Colmes passed away at 66 years old, and I certainly wouldn't say was a close friend of mine, but he was a friend. He was certainly a working colleague, and I think it's important that we recognize not only Alan Colmes and what he did, but how things have changed. Alan Colmes was he was wrong on a lot of things. And yeah, I remember him kind of insinuating the Tea Party was racist. But Alan Colmes was a much more classical liberal who at least would engage in a form of ideas. I mean, think about it. The show was Hannity and Colmes. And then they turned it into just Hannity, which a lot of people at Fox liked, because I remember people who would watch Fox News would just complain and say, "Why do you have that Colmes? I only want Hannity and the flag." And I always liked, as you know with this show, I always liked, you saw with Michael Ian Black, I always liked hearing differing points of view. I felt like it was more educational. And Alan Colmes was always willing to do that and often willing to defend free speech. Here's a clip showing you why he was one of, in a way of speaking, one of the good guys.
In all the years I've worked there, since the launch of the channel in 1996, nobody has said you can't say this, you can't do that. And I have a lot of freedom there. And also, I like the idea, and this is to liberals. Many liberals have been my worst critics. You've gotten some of that when you were there.
Yeah.
Because how dare you work there and take their money? But look, why preach to the choir? You reach more independents and even more Democrats on Fox News, given their huge audience, than you would on other networks. So I'm grateful to have that opportunity to have that platform.
So Alan Colmes, not only, and I won't, on a personal level, I won't say, again, we weren't super close friends, but he did, he went into bat for me on a couple of things. After Hannity and Colmes, the show, he was such a good guy that they kept him at the network. And really, they didn't have a show for him, but he was a contributor. He had a radio show. And I used to do that pretty frequently. On Friday night, it was a Royal Rumble. And he was hilarious. He was a very funny guy. I remember he would just go to his phone calls, and he would just go, okay, line 2. Alan Colmes, you suck. And okay, line 3, click. And that's actually where I met Sally Cohn.
Oh, really?
Yep. I met Sally Cohn on Alan Colmes' show on a Friday night. I remember during the fall, and late at night, I went to the Fox News studio, met Sally Cohn. And, that was one thing that Alan Colmes was actually able to do. He was actually able to bring people into a room, and you don't see this a lot, by the way. If you go to MS, or you hear people who've worked at MSNBC or even people at CNN, certainly on the left side, they don't talk about how, oh man, you'd have so many people with different points of view and they would just be in a room together and have a couple of beers afterward and have a good time. Particularly at MSNBC. This is inside baseball. But I knew this for a long time. People who worked there, they were not friends. It was not a friendly atmosphere. And Alan Colmes was one of the few people on the left who really did have a gift for that. People who knew him loved him. He was funny. He was loyal. He was kind. He helped a lot of people, and he could bring people of different points of view into a room, and make them feel like they didn't need to hate each other. I don't know if that was an innate skill that he had. I don't know if it was something by design, but it's certainly not something that you're seeing proactively being created as an atmosphere from the left today. And I do sometimes, I wonder how far we're going to go. I wonder how far from that as an anchor point we're going to go as a society. And I wonder 10 years from now if someone like an Alan Colmes, would become more of a centrist. We kind of see that somewhat with Juan Williams. And again, I know the Fox News audience, they'll be going, they're not conservative enough. And that was one thing I just hate about cable news. No. I remember on Fox, if you said, well, you don't have a differing opinion on this. Okay, the audience is not going to like that. They're 72. They're eating their Hungry Man Swanson TV dinners, and they want to see someone say America is great. And there's nothing wrong with saying that America is great. There's nothing.
The oldest show I can remember watching before I started paying attention to really conservative things, but the conservative talk show was Hannity and Colmes. That was the first exposure I had to anything that wasn't just plain news. Before I'd hear Rush every once in a while in the car with my dad, but that was about it. It was Hannity and Colmes' first exposure. I remember as a kid enjoying it because I kind of liked the banter. I liked the viewpoints was different. It was much more interesting to even my mind as a young kid.
Yeah,
than what you see today. I think
I've always thought that was the case, and we have a hard time booking. I think Alan Colmes might have been on the show when we first launched. I know Monica Crowley has, and that's his cousin, and they used to have a segment on Bill O'Reilly all the time. But I really enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed, and it's not me being disingenuous trying to take some moral high road. I don't know about you. You can tweet me at @Crowder. I've always much more so enjoyed having a program with differing points of view and hearing them out. And that's why we try to get people from differing points of view on the show. It's hard to book them, but that's another thing you have to give to Alan Colmes. The guy was a gamer. The guy was willing to show when other leftists would, Fox News. I bet you watch Fox News. And it became a punchline. Alan Colmes was there. Alan Colmes could have gone to any network. He had the pedigree. He could have gone to CNN. He could have gone to MSNBC. So this idea that he needed to be there, he was their whipping post, Alan Colmes. No. Alan Colmes laced up his boots. He walked down that aisle, and he showed up when no one else would. And I've got to respect the guy for that. And he did some things for me. He did a lot for me personally, and he was very kind to me personally. And again, it's proof that we talk about this. We talk in general. Sometimes generalities are necessary about how the left behaves. And I hope you see this on this program. We talk about the left's actions. And we talk about that a lot, the left's actions and how they behave. But we've talked about this before when my friend Seymour passed away. We try to not deal in ascribing motives. And that's one thing that I think is important in looking at the life of Alan Colmes. I think he was a guy who was wrong politically, but I think he had the right motives. And we need to leave room for that. We need to remember that there are people out there who might disagree with us politically who are good people. And if anything, you can just think they're lost and try to help them along the path. But Alan Colmes was a really good guy, and I think the world is a slightly darker place without him. I know that some of you will disagree, but well, there it is. Alan Colmes, thank you very much, sir. We'll miss you. Good man.